Welcome, Rainbow Six fans, to the third week of the regular season of UPL. My name is Fellow, and I'm actually joined here today by my duo of Infernosis. I like to call him Scott. And God, I missed you, man. I'm going to be upfront. I really did miss casting with you. It's been far too long, but I feel like it's not really going to be that much of a rust fest at all. We were still casting just with some different people here and there, but at least we got an exciting game to start things off back with our reuniting, I guess. Yeah, that's the best way to put it.
Well,
reuniting, coming back together.
It could have been longer. My break from you could have been longer. No, I'm just kidding. I'm playing, of course. I love.
Yeah.
I needed a couple.
I'm a lot to handle, you know.
Unfortunately, a lot of the time it was just me doing homework. So I would much rather work with you than do homework. But after this game, these two games today, I'm going to be taking a 2-hour exam. So I've got my work cut out for me always. College is always ever moving and ever flowing. But I'm really excited for this one. Obviously, starting off with Surf Academy versus Alter. these two teams have kind of been getting the butt in so far in this division. One of them's 0-2, the other one's 1-1. They've not exactly been doing spectacular for themselves. What is it? Surf is actually the one who's 0-2. But as I have been told, those two losses are against the two top teams in this division, arguably so. So their losses could technically mean not that much in the long run. They just could have started off with a really tough strength of schedule.
For Surf Academy, they went up against X13 and also Mystic, and they gave Mystic a pretty good fight, only losing 7-5. You see a lot of matches that can really get that close. A single round difference between making it to overtime and just flat out losing. I definitely would not worry, or pardon not worry, but I would definitely worry about Surf Academy because they can actually hold up their own against decent teams. I mean, even though they still lost, they still fought the good fight. So Alter should definitely be trying to worry about this as much as physically possible. And also their scores, they do matter. They are kind of in the middle of the board currently. They're not doing that hot either. So both of these matches are really going to be valued quite well for Surf and also Alter.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to what these two teams are going to bring to the table. Let's go ahead and bring up the fact of what maps we're going to be playing on today. So, game one, Surf Academy versus Alter, bring up the map ban screen, and Surf's going to have that first pick on the board. They're going to go ahead and ban out Clubhouse. No T3 special so far. Unfortunately, Chalet will be taken out by Alter. Surf gets their next. Villa, no large map. Consulate, probably next. No, Oregon is taken out for the count. Surf now with their follow-up as well. A pretty important ban because this kind of dictates what goes forward. Coastline's out. Consulate is still on the board, may I point out. And so is Cafe. So no matter what, we're playing in a large map. But Alter goes through. Consulate out. And I want to leave. I do not like this whatsoever. But we will see Surf starting off on the attack.
I was going to actually make a wild guess. Cafe gets picked a lot in best of one. So that was kind of my hypothesis as is. But we did see Surf go 7-5 up against Mystic, but you're like, fellow, they lost. You literally just said the scoreline. Well, it is up against probably debatable one of the best, if not the best T3 team in NA currently. So winning 5 rounds up against them, and honestly, a lot of those rounds were simply thrown away when Surf lost them. They could have definitely won that best of one, or at least brought it to overtime against them. So I'm really not shocked that we are seeing Cafe get picked at the final destination here for this best of one. It just comes down to how well can Alter counteract these strategies. And Surf has definitely seen a bit of a roster change here and there. I think they finally found their footing, though, eventually, after a couple of long weeks of just trying out new people and eventually kind of just stabilizing themselves. And again, the question is, can Alter counteract Surf's defense and also attack?
Yeah, well, there has been plenty of weird things already going on today, a lot of events, but this is probably the one I'm most, privy to. R6, the game of the day. Can they do enough with what it takes to win the game? This goes for either side. I think Cafe has been one of those maps that's been changing to be more attacker favored in recent times. I think that Surf starting off on the attack is going to bode pretty well for them. But you can always have that second half comeback that Alter could bring to the table. And they've already found success once so far in this league in these, 2 games they've had. So I'm going to go ahead and say that it's still up in the air. It's anyone's game. Surf may have given Mystic a run for their money, but now we're going to see if Alter can give this team of Surf a run for their money. Ban pace underway. Alter will have their first pick, taking out the attacking choice. That's their shocker. Shocker. John, what do you think it's going to be from here?
A hard breacher. Flores is a really good ban because he is amazing at clearing out a lot of people when they're going on the extensions. Pixel, a great example. And if you don't have control of Pixel or Bathroom when defending that top floor, you're just inside the objective room. There you have it. Flores now being banned. And to correspond to that, now knowing that you're going to have to clear out those different areas without the help of those Terror drones, we might see a Wamai ban go down on the board, or maybe that Mira still having those Mira windows can most definitely be a bit challenging as well, but we'll have to see. Only 2 more seconds, and drum roll, please. It'll be a Valkyrie. Maybe on the last ban I'll be right, but so far I'm not.
The Valkyrie ban's not too shocking. Mira could be a possible ban. I don't really like the Mira ban in the current time. But Mira ban, Malusi ban, Kaid's not really a good ban choice, but it will be that Mira ban. Meleeing out those black mirrors may be a little bit easier now, but for a hard room to push forward like Cigar Lounge on 3rd floor, Mira still is extremely viable. So you want to go ahead and remove that, not have those be a point of contention, and just play it like you would the tried and true Cafe, which is also the reason why I hate Cafe. Push that 3rd floor, take that stairwell hatch, and just do the exact same thing over and over again. But I'll tell you what, I know for a fact that this Alter roster is definitely going to make it very interesting. I know so many of the people on this team. Same thing goes for Surf. I'm really looking forward to what these two teams can do. For the attacking lineup, we see Habana. That's their go-to hard breacher. We've got double nades. The sledge now being switched off to a Kali. So a assistance to a hard breacher, maybe what we see go forward, but they don't really have anything to deny hard breach on this Alter side. So I don't know why Kali's being picked up, except for maybe just a long shot angle on this, floor.
That is all I can think of. You can also use an explosive blast to actually remove the pixel area. I believe if that charge actually lands near one of the deployable shields, then it will actually detonate and remove it from the picture. So just that long range utility dump, not the worst idea, but then you can also counteract saying, well, Sledge has frag grenades. So it's kind of a pick your poison, and the LA is just a much more consistent weapon. So maybe we saw Surf Academy anticipating a basement floor push, and then they were going to go for a bakery take and get that hard destruction done, but I'm pretty sure Stale can hold his own. I've played with him before. He's a very lovely guy, always fun to hang around him, and he can most definitely hit his shot, so I'm not too worried about that. And other than that Kali pick, things are pretty much standard when attacking on Cafe. You've got the Gnome at the flank watch, you've got Iana for plenty of drone work and nade usage for that destruction, you've got Zofia for any kind of destruction as well, although she's received that AK nerf. She's still a pretty good operator nonetheless, and Bans on that hard destruction, maybe trying to get that trash wall opened up or just any hard destruction that they need, especially in red wall.
I think one of the big things we're going to need to be able to see here, John, is that Surf Academy needs to play some of this window repel simulator. Yes, third floor is important, and you need to be able to clear out Cigar Lounge, but a great way to assist with that is that White Hall and be able to go on that outside window and repel, and that's such an easy way to do so. Stale's making great use of the sniper very early on, removing out these hatches, taking the role of Sledge to a new level, being able to do it with shots instead of a hammer, not having to switch it over in that process, and here we already see. We will see a window being repelled for it. This will be a very advantageous position for Surf if they can manage to maintain that line of sight and keep players like Baxley on Alter stuck inside of these corner pockets. If they keep them stuck, then Surf has a free reign to step into Cigar Lounge and start to use some of those X-Kairos pellets that we see on Bans to great use. But Walt, sitting at this pixel hold, has a great position to deny any opportunity. So go ahead and throw some Zofia utility out. 2 concussive blasts now has room for the impact, knocking out Baxley's Vulcan Shield out for the count, and we'll have to be able to make the rotation down below and play a different side.
Luckily, though, Walt still can play in bathroom and prolong that piano push, but luckily Clarity is already in the middle of that room, and he'll have backup from Pinto, but there goes the C4 from Baxley. That's why he's playing underneath. He hears that audio cue or gets the call out by someone on a camera and just detonates that nitro from underneath and guarantees that first frag for Alter, and they're still holding down Pixel quite effectively as you still have Walt sitting up in towards bathroom, so things are in a bit of a predicament here for Surf Academy. They're kind of just stuck inside a cigar shop and only a little bit of map control in towards piano. They are really just waiting for time to continue on ticking down, and that's exactly what Alter wants. They've got that man advantage, and they still have plenty of map control to deny this execute by Surf in the last 50 seconds.
Yeah, these last 50 seconds are some of the most important ones, especially with how slow Surf has been playing. That Nitro not only was a huge deficit because they lost Pin, but also because it kind of hurts their mentality. It really puts them in a down bad state, and this isn't like a battle royale where he's down and needs to be revived. There's none of that. He's just out for the count. You're just down bad mentally, and it's going to take a lot more kills or around win to kind of bring that mentality back. We're seeing a very wide hold in terms of this attack of looking for an angle for shots for Surf. Toxic Babe's going to remove Ban's position as they were attempting to look through that Cigar Lounge door and actually managing to look towards C2, but pushed away. Now looking to have to rely on nades from the backside. One nade tossed over. Bans does find Waltz in the process. Teddy now down, finished off by Bans again. Clarity steps up on a Baxley, and a 4v2 in motion. Shot misses there for Stale as Nar finds that kill, but a 3v2 in motion as Abstain starts to plant down the lunchbox. Time is running out. They can stop it, but not enough. Lunchbox down, 2 players down, and they're all down for this side. A very successful assault that had took over 2 minutes to get it done.
About a 20 or 30-second execute by Surf Academy Esports, but they remained calm and they picked a couple of gunfights here and there one-on-one, and allowing to get themselves up and towards heaven definitely opened up a lot of space as well. It really did seem like a rough start for Surf Academy, but then Alter just got too confident in themselves and just weren't really expecting or anticipating that push coming in through by Surf Academy, but that's the only option they had. Plan A and Plan B failed miserably. You got to go for option C, just run into the objective room and pray to God that you win those gunfights, and luckily, Surf Academy did. That could have went so differently compared to how I thought it would have actually ended up being for the round, but sadly not. And because of that, Alter will try to reattempt to go this top floor objective room. And one thing is for sure, even though Surf Academy won that round, that does not mean that they did not make any mistakes throughout that round. One pivotal thing was not clearing out those roamers. Rumor has it that Surf Academy is not the best at roam clearing from time to time, and that first round definitely proved that quite well. So one thing for them, they can try to clear out those roamers and then focus on the top floor, and that overall could guarantee them a first entry, not having to focus on multiple things at once, or multiple floors, I should say, as that C4 really did force Surf Academy to remain dead in their tracks for such a long amount of time, Scott.
That was probably one of the best segues and recoveries I think I've ever heard you or anyone ever do. That was really good. Full prompts to that. But obviously, round 2 now underway. Alter is having to pick up and decide what they want to do now. They're going to pick up the same objective and hope that it works a little better this time around. I think they have a good chance for this one. Surf really had to rely on the last 30 seconds to get the push done, and that's a dangerous game to play. But I think they only relied on the last 30 seconds because they lost Pinto early on, and it became a really big problem for them. Alter can find an early pick once again, and then maybe force them to play that last 30 seconds and just play a little bit better. And if they do so, then I think it's an easy W for them. But unfortunately, the alphabet's pretty complicated. There's 20-something letters in there, and I can't do math, John can't read, and I'm not sure if Alter just has what it takes to stop this Surf assault. And obviously, it's already going the other direction. Pinto picks up the first, a bit of a revenge play now as they take Baxley out for the count very early on now. Only a minute has passed, and Surf take this lead early on in this round.
Not 110% sure where Baxley was, but now that he's dead, he can no longer roam underneath. So a massive frag in the hands of Surf Academy as, again, they slowly work their way towards that red wall, getting in towards Piano and then starting to flush out that pixel presence. And the fact that Waltz is rocking that Wamai as he wasn't banned in the ban phase, it's going to cost a lot of stun grenades and some explosives in the hands of possibly anyone in the hands of Pinto, but Amp just eradicates him from that back shield. You may have gotten rid of the player up and towards Pixel, but you got to worry about that bathroom rotation, and someone else you have to worry about, Teddy on the Maestro. That's a deadly weapon with the Alda in hand, and so far it's going to work wonders on towards Bans as the tide tips back in the favor of Alter, and they've got plenty of utility to deny this push overall. They just have to remain passive and not to overextend their bodies, because Surf Academy will punish them twice in a row if that does in fact happen.
Dangerous position, though, for Walt sitting inside that back freezer. Can get pushed through Cigar Door. Obviously, Stale is a longer ranged weapon. Can kind of contend through two directions. They definitely need some assistance from some of his teammates. We see nades, flashes being topped out. Clarity tosses their last nade, and Abstain still only has one flash grenade left. Attempted to clear the ADSs. They have not gotten past Pixel. They're throwing some Gemini replicators through and maybe hoping to catch one or two players off guard, but there's none there. One holding towards White Stairs at that corner pocket does finally shoot out the replicator. Stale takes a little bit of damage in the process. Abstain has an angle, the one I was talking about, through Cigar, and it's going to go the other direction for Clarity as they find Amp. Teddy now downed as well, taken out for the count by Stale's SPS. A 3v2 in motion. Waltz is able to step out of the freezer. A little bit of a safety net gather, but not enough to warrant it because Stale is there once again. Gnar, from behind, taken out by Stale as Stale carries that round for them and absolutely slaughters any and all opposition.
I knew I had confidence in Stale, and he proved as to why I did. You gotta worry about not only the long-range engagements that a Kali can bring to the board, but also that pocket SMG pistol, which has a really good fire rate overall, and as long as you click on the head, it's a one-shot headshot, and you don't really gotta worry about the fact that its damage might not be top-notch. But so far, Surf Academy's last-second pushes, even on the man deficit, have been top-notch overall, and Alter just, they're not as coordinated as they are in the beginning of these rounds, and that's really where Surf Academy thrives. They notice these minute openings in Alter's defenses, and they take it. The second they can, works out perfectly for them, and now they're up 2-0 on the attacking half of their cafe map, and it's going to force Alter to now try to attempt to defend the lowest bomb site of Kitchen Cookie and Kitchen Service, or just Kitchen for short overall, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see an extension. It's almost guaranteed that we see some kind of push outside of the objective itself when this site is held, because it's on the lowest level and you have so much of the map to play around with. It's kind of dumb if you just do a 5-man anchor. It's almost never seen before, but what you do tend to see is either that first floor extension in a coat check in VIP, or you see a very assertive roam presence by the defensive side to waste a ton of time on multiple floor levels. But so far, it's going to be that first floor extension with the light roam up above, so you're still wasting plenty of time in the beginning of that action phase, but also you have a backup plan once it gets cleared out.
And backup plans are very important, John, because obviously we saw in round 1, when Pinto gets taken out early on, Surf is able to find the backup plan, don't rely on a quick push like they initially wanted to do, then play the last 30 seconds. I don't think that was ever their plan, but they had it there available. And that just shows good coaching. That shows good precision all across the board. Their strategies are a little more cohesive than I would say Alter's were. Alter didn't have the backup strategy in round 1. They had one in round 2, but they just got outgunned in angles that weren't expected. Stale stepped up exactly when they needed to and completely swept Alter off their feet. And I'm going to go ahead and say Alter doesn't look like they're showing up to the altar in this match so far. I think right now Surf's the only one on the steeple, kind of just waiting, and it's a little bit sad to see from this Alter squad because I know just how impressive they tend to be. But now Alter's going to go ahead and decide we're going to a completely new objective, dropping down to this first floor, these kitchen service and cooking sites, and praying that Surf does not have what it takes to push forward. And I think that may be kind of what we see, because Stales had to switch off the SPS wielding Cali, now on Sledge, but is taking care of Coat Check and takes care of Teddy as well, looking towards the side of Bakery Pocket, but no one's there. Does not seem to matter though, because Surf has stepped up and already found impact early on.
Surf Academy trying to attack from the first floor rather than clearing out that roam game could be a problem in and of itself, due to that vertical sightline you can gather if you're still up above. But so far, Alter cannot utilize it just yet, so it'll remain a really good position here for Surf Academy as they're slowly trying to work their way in towards the objective room, and finding that entry will surely be a great position for themselves as well, but they still have to clear out the main anchor. Only removing one player is not going to be all that much to win, especially when you have players like Baxley up above who can find that trade instantly, and now, again, those vertical sightlines he can use quite well, but so far has not found any success. Pinto's just in the site, picks up 2, but gets traded out by Waltz. Luckily, Abstain is there to shut him down before he finds another, but Baxley, trying to defend from up above, picks up a nice shot on towards Clarity, but it cannot stop the plant. But Vans gets off it for some odd reason. He repositions. He doesn't want to get shot from up above, but this could allow for Baxley to step up huge. Uses a C4 to deny the sound cue, but Abstain still watching, waiting for the hot drop, picks up another frag to his name, and gives Surf Academy their 3rd round in a row. Their aggression is paying off for them so well up against Alter's defensive holds.
That's exactly what you need to see. You need to see that one side is losing those engagements and then act accordingly. And that's exactly what this Surf squad is doing. They're seeing where Alter is making these mistakes and they're acting on it. Alter, we see a strategy across the board. We're seeing them toss that nitro to try and deafen their noise and kind of counteract some of the audio cues that will happen on that hot drop, but they don't care. Surf says, we know that strategy. We know what you're doing. Peek that angle, find that shot, and end this one real quick. But we're going to have to head right back to this kitchen site on this first floor. Alter looked pretty poor this last time, but they looked a little bit better on round 2 in comparison to round 1 prior, so maybe they just need a second round, and maybe finally we'll see them take a round for them, because this one so far, this first half, has been all Surf Academy, and they're riding the wave straight to victory. And I'm sorry to say it, but Alter's got to pick it up. Baxley has 3 kills, but everyone else across their board for Alter has only been able to pick up 1. And typically, consistency is key. Take a look at Surf's lineup right now. 4-2-3-3-3. Very consistent. Stale just had 1 round where they popped off and stole 1 extra kill off Clarity, but it doesn't seem to matter. Alter's a little consistent as well, but they're just not consistent in the right direction. They're consistently stale instead of being consistently good, and that's kind of where we're seeing them flounder, where they're starting to fall apart. Surf's picking them off early on, finding first picks like we saw Stale rush in through Kochek, and that's causing Alter to be a little bit flustered, and they're not really sure where to go when they've lost that very pivotal player.
Right. on last round, we saw Stale initiate with that frag, and it didn't matter that he got traded out because Surf Academy's like, all right, we have a good chance at just pushing into sight and having it work out. And Pinto, with that LMGE in his pocket, was able to find 2 nice opening frags in towards the objective room, created a ton of space for Surf Academy, and the only player that remained was Walt, but he got traded out, and then leaving it up to Baxley up above. It was just a perfect execution and allowing themselves, again, taking map control slowly but steadily enough where it actually pays off for them when they push in towards the objective. That's why they've been doing so well on these past 3 rounds, because the little amount of map control that they have is able to allow them to get into the objective room and just win those head-on-head gunfights. They've been doing well in that term of just trying to flush people out and then just picking one-on-ones, which greatly favors attackers versus defenders, and it's proving that point quite well so far. 3-0 for them.
Yeah, already this round, no early pick, which is a very big difference we've seen in the last 3 rounds, where we saw first pick go to Alter in round 1, and then Surf take the last 2 opening picks in very quick succession. All of those within the first minute, no problem about it. Only one of those really taking longer than 30 seconds. And yet, we're a minute and a half in, and a minute and a half remains, and everyone is still alive on this board. Surf could be playing this a little slower, or this may just be because Alter, with this offsite presence, some would say an SSG roam. I don't know if that's true. I'm messing with my co-caster here. This off-site roam, this presence they have of being very spread out and being substantially held, could just be what this Alter side was needing. But unfortunately for them, Walt and Amp now taken out, Abstain and Bands finding the first 2 picks, a 5v3, and a minute now remains. Alter has to find picks, and not just find those picks, but stay alive in the process. 1 pick means nothing if your full team dies in the process.
Other than head-on gunfights, Alter can really only rely on their primary utility of those yokais and toxic babes, especially now that Baxley is down for the count. Pinto wraps him up with a nice kill to the head. 5-on-2 now for Surf Academy Esports, and they still have a ton of time to win this one out, and it's all in the hands of Teddy, having to try to find the ace. Picks up one on the Clarity, but he still has a great uphill battle to win this one out, and he's not going to be able to do that. Pinto, watching the long hallway, expects him to push his way up in towards Small Bakery and denies him of even finding a second kill on that round. Surf Academy up 4-0, and they are just dominating up against Alter currently.
Dominating and looking great doing it. There's a difference between just dominating and just outplaying your opponent. No, Surf Academy looks spectacular. I've seen very little to nitpick about their play. A couple of crossfires they could set up a little bit better in terms of their positions, but in all honesty, I don't think that's necessarily their fault. We'll pick out one from round 2, talking about how one player, I believe it was Waltz, was sitting inside Freezer and was in a bad spot that I called. They had a crossfire set up, but Stale got forced out from Cigar Door from a Toxic Babe. Not exactly their fault, but yet we still saw the push come through the other direction from Clarity to attempt to peek that door. Not what I wanted to see. I did not want to see that. I want to see the crossfire there to guarantee that safety net. I think it's just this Surf roster feeling really confident to win these 50-50 gunfights and viewing it not as a 50-50, but as a 100-0 and maintaining that confidence, and it's really driving them forward in this matchup.
It's just all about the positioning and what kind of map control you have. Now, other than that last round, Surf Academy's map control has been very lackluster, but what has also been lackluster for Alter is just their positioning in terms of their players, where they're allowing themselves to be in awkward areas of the map, and that gives Surf Academy a 50-50 chance of winning out their gunfights. And the whole point of being on the defending side is to give yourself an overwhelming advantage up against the attackers, and currently that hasn't been happening, even though we've been seeing these currently defensive metas, or lineups, I should say, team compositions, been really strong for Alter. They've got double denial on Lamai and Jaeger, they've got the Vulcan shields, they've got regular shields, they even have the Evil Eyes, which you and I both praise the Meatball Man of Maestro Scott, but really nothing's working out for them so far. I honestly am slightly stumped as to why they aren't doing as good as they are, except their bad positioning overall.
Yeah, I think a lot of what I'm seeing here from Alter is they're just not really sure how they need to play against Surf. Yes, Cafe, as we had said earlier, is an attacker side of the map recently, and that could be what's going on. Maybe Alter's a little behind the times. They're not adapting their defensive strategy. Maybe this is just what R6 is turning into, where attackers are seemingly favored for it, but it wouldn't be this bad. It wouldn't be so, I don't want to say one-sided, but it does almost feel that way in a lot of ways because Alter just hasn't been finding picks. Maybe they're uncomfortable on the operators they're playing. Maybe they just don't know what to do. They're going to drop Skylight here, John. Are they?
Boy.
Oh, my goodness. They're going to put 2 on the outside
it.
repel. They're going to put 2 on the outside repel. They have
Wow,
flashes. They do not have any smoke canisters, though, which could be a problem.
I'm honestly hoping that they actually go for the push, and there it is, 3
Oh my
players dropping up
God.
in Skylight. They're just in the objective room, but no one's watching C1. Teddy eats up 3 with the ult. You've got to be joking me, and he gets a quadra kill to top it all off. The rush is just completely denied because no one's checking near the Shaiko rotate. Oh man, Surf Academy throwing away their first round at just a poorly attempted hot drop from Skylight, but Alter, that must be such a satisfying round win, and one you most definitely needed as well. But Surf Academy, man, you know they bring a Maestro. Where do the Maestro players sit? They sit in C1. You need to check that bar top before you even think about looking down the angle of pallets, and no one checked it. All 4 of them were looking down pallets. That could have actually been a win for Surf Academy, but sadly, that's not going to be the case. But great round win by Alter nonetheless, using that Maestro all to its best capabilities.
Full props to Surf, though. Well, let me just rave about this. They successfully hot dropped in, right? They got in completely unscathed. No fight anywhere near them. The issue is they didn't clear Cocktail. They did not clear that section. They were C1, C2, C3. They completely rushed the wrong direction. Did not watch their rear. They were too worried about white stairs, which I guess they should have been because we did see the run out occur there from that white stairs window. But they were too worried about that and not worried enough about an actual player sitting there. Yes, they should have realized the Maestro was there, but I give them props to some degree about the hot drop. But Alter, more specifically Teddy, what a phenomenal performance to stay calm, wait it out, let the audio cues be there, and then to spray them all down in a row. Man, Surf should have had the reflex to turn on that and take you out, and they didn't. And that right there is the confidence booster that this Alter squad needed, and unfortunately it may be too little too late, because now it's a 4-1. We're in the last round before this halftime switch. John, they're going to have to change so much. Yes, what the heck is going... They have so much going on here for them in terms of confidence after that round, but confidence can't make up for poor decision-making. And right now, I'm seeing interesting decision-making. I won't call it poor just yet, putting a bunch of these shields inside of Cocktail and also putting the alibis behind them. It's very interesting to see. We'll have to see how it pans out for Alter, but Surf are going to be looking to find revenge.
I mean, that round really did feel like a fluke of a round. It just seemed like Surf Academy didn't care if they won or lost that one. They just wanted to test something completely bananas, and it may have not worked out, but I think Surf Academy is done playing tricks up against their opponents, so might be their only round loss is that 5th one, unless Alter can just make a miracle happen or just play some good Siege, which so far they've been doing right strategies on paper, but overall not winning those crucial gunfights, and also just the lack of good positioning has not boded well for them. But they are in a really good spot here. This extension up above can be really hard to clear out when certain teams don't bring the proper lineup, but this should be just enough of a utility clear. You have those 4 frag grenades, and you also have that entry as Stale picks up one on towards Walt. He types lol in chat as well. Yeah, Scott, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't think Surf Academy is going to be throwing this round away.
Yeah, I think they're looking at this one and going, okay, well, yeah, maybe a fluke. And we're definitely not going to allow it to go as easily. But Baxley says, hey, still work hard for it. Stale, who was 7-3, now 7-4 as he gets taken out from the outside window. That repel we've seen so well from Surf is being shut down by Alter, and that's exactly what needs to happen. Now Alter is going to have to be wary of the rush from the outside veranda as Pinto is looking for that opportunity to come in and rush into reading and get that default place. John, a very dangerous positional advantage that this Surf Academy roster has now as they've taken control of this 3rd floor and only lost 1 person because of it, while also finding one of their own. An unfortunate kill because it was not on a player that has active utility, but still a player with a vector, which is a dangerous one that needs to be removed.
40 seconds here for Surf Academy. Enough time to get that execute down, but they're still remaining up above. Luckily, though, Pinto runs in from the snow doorway, and he's right outside of that main door leading in towards Reading, and he'll have the backup coming in from Clarity, watching that flank and maybe rotating to help him out, or at least pushing with him to get in control of that objective room. And Pinto is just in the objective room, starts pre-firing and just holding down M1, looking for some kind of frag here, but it's going to be Amp to strike on towards Clarity. Pinto, now having to watch the flank here, will get himself out of the objective room, allowing for an opening for Alter once more, but this could be deadly for Amp. He's expecting the push, but doesn't win the gunfight. Pinto wraps up one on an Amp, and the plant coming on down, but no one's covering. Narmu just runs in, and there's no time left. Alter, they spot out that there's no one stopping the diffuser from being halted, and they get it down in just in the nick of time. Oh man, the lack of site coverage was the demise of Surf Academy, and luckily Alter, needing as many rounds as they can pick up, get their second one right before they move on the attacking half.
And that's not a round that's one off of that, I guess, mentality booster they had the round prior where they thrashed what Teddy thrashed. That one was a round where Surf just fell short of what they needed to do. A bit unlucky, but also just an outplay there by Alter. They knew what they needed to do. They knew exactly what was going to happen, and they worked towards that end goal of achieving that, and Surf fell short. So the Wave does not make it to the beaches, and they will unfortunately fall off their boards and now have to defend on the home turf that is Cafe Dostoyevsky. Starting off on the third floor, we've seen how Alter has defended this one, and now we're going to see how Surf does so. No Maestro on board. We do see an Echo on the board as well as a Malusi, so nothing strange beyond the Tachanka pick that I would say for this objective for the third floor. The Tachanka pick, very strong. The Shamika launcher can put some fire bolts down. Very strong if you want to use that to hold off Cigar. I think it's a little bit stronger to make it hold off towards where you would usually see a Maestro hold back in C1, C2. But it's interesting to see Stale just running around with this and really not locking down in one place early on enough. So it's not giving me any real big clues as to where Stale is going to set up shop and hold out for the rest.
I think the best usage here of Stale on the Tachanka is just what he's doing now, just opening up some kill holes that can allow for them to deny default plants that go on right in towards Cocktail, especially if we're coming in from New Balcony, or just Bar. Cocktail's the smaller part. I mean, they both have little cocktail areas, I suppose, but you know what? They're both bars, so it doesn't really matter. Sometimes we make mistakes. We're only human after all, but Surf Academy, other than that, they haven't been making that many mistakes except those last two rounds, but hopefully it doesn't get to their head too much now, and they should honestly just brush them aside, put them away just out of their brains, because they're now on a completely new half of Cafe on that defensive side, and their lineup, like you mentioned, Scott, very different compared to what Alter brought. Instead of that double denial, they've got instead of Malusi on the board, which can be great for that roam presence, as she has a very low recoil weapon of that MP5, and also a Nitro Cell to catch players off guard with the sound cues coming in through those rickety floorboards, and that's exactly what Clarity's doing currently in synchronization of either just the calls coming in from the player behind Pixel or those Malusi Banshees. This could be an easy entry for Surf Academy so long as Waltz does not end his reign of terror before it actually begins.
Yeah, we already see Amp just sitting on these red stairs, spraying through a couple of the walls, trying to make sure there's sight lines to be had. Surf doesn't seem to be playing towards that mining or train museum side. Yeah, they do need to worry about this 90 hold, and going from below could be a very strong strategy for Alter, but at this point in time, I think it's more of a worry about just clearing that and buying time for Surf. Yes, they've lost control of Pixel, but they do still have one player in Washroom. That's going to be Pinto holding strong. Nar has no nades left, and neither does Baxley, so they don't really have a great way to actually contain in that direction because they didn't bring 6 nades on their roster, which would be an interesting thing we have seen before. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes out. Pinto now down, finished off by Waltz with a pistol. They've gained control because of this window repel simulator I love to rave about here on Cafe. When you play windows, it gives you such a massive advantage over your opponent that it's impossible to give up, even though it does waste a little bit more time than some teams are comfortable doing. Stale finds one with a DP27 into Amp's head, and a 4v4 still underway, but Cigar Lounge has been slowed down, nice stopped by this Surf Academy defense because that DP27 just may be a little bit too much to contend against.
Got the Shamika launchers and also Toxic Babes as well, which could be a problem in these next couple of seconds here. We're down to that last counted 30 on the clock here, and this is the worst time to start your execute as an attacker, especially when you haven't dealt with players like Bans and Stale who are just sitting in the back lines waiting for you to make some kind of mistake. But Clarity will get in that first gunfight up against Teddy, denying the Pixel doorway push. They have to try to maybe rush in a bathroom, but even then it's going to just be running into the Shamika launchers and LMG wielding Tachanka. Teddy picks up on to Clarity, but Stale is popping off, but gets eradicated by Baxley eventually, all up to Abstain. 1 versus 3, right near the rotate, picks up 1, but he's got to find 2 more to win out this round and only has 1 health. He runs...
Was tagging Gnar, was tagging everyone else on the team, and was dealing that damage, but not enough to kill. Yeah, the Yokai drone, if it was still in play, would have been absolutely everything, would have ended the round. That's what you want to play for if you are an Echo, but that didn't happen, which leads me to believe, why the heck were they playing an Echo? If you can't keep your Yokais alive in a position to actually use them late game, then they're not as useful as, say, bringing in a Mozzie would be, or, say, bringing in a Valkyrie, which I know is banned, but, you know, other tertiary information like that. Exactly, a Maestro. Anything like that, it would technically be more useful than those Yokais are, because you're just not using the full utility of that utility. And that's kind of where Surf's falling short. They need to be able to actually take full advantage of the operators' gadgets that they have and not just use them as a single one-off kind of play. Play better. That's really what it all comes down to. And Abstain, who was then the last 1v3, could have just ended it in a complete lopsided affair by still having that Yokai up and running.
It definitely is a necessity to try to hide your Yokais better now that they're visible. Don't put them in really obvious spots. This sometimes will not get spotted out in that soft ping, as it has natural cover from the ceiling part of that area, but it is right near the distance of that Cigar Shop doorway, so just looking up slightly could guarantee you a kill, but, or pardon, just a free Yokai, but you obviously could get killed with that long angle as it's directly up in towards bar, but agreed. I think a Maestro could have worked so much better. It's a lot harder to try to get rid of those evil eyes, and when you're focusing on getting that plant down, you're not really in the mindset of, hey, it's a 1v2, let's start breaking utility, even if it is a Maestro or Echo left on the board. But back into the current round here, Baxley on the Jackal, who could be a great way of clearing out the roamers, is going to be doing just that, starting off from the top or bottom area of White Stairwell, working higher up to the top, and hasn't found anybody yet. Now that barbed wire up and towards White could be a great sound cue for a defender to just wide swing on him, and since there is a player of, I believe it is Clarity, who's in the back area of White near the landing part, that could be a free kill for him, especially with that higher fire weight weapon of the MP5K, but currently that's not going to be the case.
Yeah, you need to be able to find more than just impact with the gadget. You need to find it with your weapon as well. So think about the choice of Echo and Maestro as well. Which one do you think is better? I mean, the MP5 SD is a phenomenal weapon, but is it really better than the Alta? It's really a toss-up. I like the MP5 SD a little bit better, but I think the Alta does way more damage. It's a little bit stronger than Aspect. But Amp finds the first kill with the LMGE, and that's going to go straight to Clarity's noggin. And now Surf's going to be a player down once again at the start, and that's going to be very painful. Alter has just completely swept up the pace of this and completely changed it in their favor. This Surf Academy roster does not know what they need to do to contend against it. They've repicked this third floor, and they're about to repick another loss on this board because Baxley finds one into Stale's head, Waltz finds their own shot into Pinto, but if Bands finally finds a consolation kill back into Baxley, avenging his teammate, but at this point it may be too little too late because Surf is only fighting a 2-man disadvantage in a 2v4.
Can't really use your Yokai here either because you have to worry about players just approaching upon you unless you want to rotate into a lower floor and then try to utilize that, but you put Bands in a 1 versus 4 with still plenty of time left, so that rotate might happen much later, but a very crucial kill comes in as Abstain picks up the frag on towards Narmu, and Bands follows suit. Hold on a minute here. This is winnable for Surf Academy. They pick up 2 necessary frags here, and all of a sudden we have Waltz and Amp in a very tricky situation here. A nice shot indeed, and that's going to put Surf Academy back in the driver's seat, and Waltz and Amp have to be very decisive about this push, and it works out so far. Waltz picks up on an Amp Stain. You don't have that denial with the Yokai, but Bands is still popping off. He just needs one more to win this one out, and he has the hard pings. He can rotate around. He's playing this so perfectly. Bands with 4! Surf Academy, a massive clutch in the 2-on-4, bringing it back, keeping the round count in their favor. Oh my god, Alter, how in the hell do you lose those?
That was one of the best resurgences, best comebacks I've seen in a while. Surf, an absolute spectacular round. Bands, Oh, you just cannot ask for a better ending to that round, especially if you are a Surf fan right now. It has got to be one of the best moments for you. But do not forget the damage that Alter has been putting onto your team so far. You can't forget what they've been doing. Surf, you looked great, but Alter is still on your rear, still making it difficult for you to even think about rotating from your current position. That's been one thing Alter's been good at, catching off rotates and catching off those single individual players away from their current positions. John, if there's one thing you see that's really coming out from you in Surf and for Alter, what will it be while we're sitting here in this pause?
I mean, Alter, they got to have the better coordination. In all honesty, it was up to 2 players of the Aruni and Echo, and they still had 40 seconds. That's time to drone. That's time to clear out common angles, and they didn't do that. They ran in blindly, no information in their back pockets, and it just appeared that Surf took full advantage of it. And then again, the information that was there was in the hands of Surf. The hard pings in the 1v1, just beautiful. That's what I love to see. That's the Surf that I've gotten to know over the past couple of weeks, and not only UPL but also SFCL. It's been fantastic. And now Alter, they're in a bit of a rut, basically. I don't know how to put it. Again, their awkward positioning that I mentioned in the first half of this matchup, and then also the lack of information that they're now gathering. It's been nothing but massive hiccups. And I mean, it's one more round away from match points, Scott, and Surf Academy is still on a tear.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you. That awkward positioning can work for a little while, but it's not going to work the entire time, right? I mean, yeah,
Right.
Surf's going to have to realize, hey, something's off with these guys, right? We kind of have to adjust our strategy and work with it. But we've seen it in the first half as well. Surf has those team strategies. They have a lot of strategies to work with, tons of tactics to pull out of their book and say, okay, now we're going to go to page 3 of book 7 for our strat book and say we've got something to work with. We know kind of at least a generalized way to deal with it. It took them a little while to kind of get that momentum back because they did lose a very large amount of rounds in a row, but they're kind of finding their feet out from underneath them again, and they're no longer falling flat at their face. Yes, that was a very tough start to that round, and that's something that you want to look at. Is it luck that they made that comeback? Is it one player showing up and doing what they need to do? What's really happening right now for Surf is just up in the air. We don't know exactly. There's nothing really showing it to us. And Alter, they changed something up. They found that one niche that worked, and they kind of relied on it too much, and it gave Surf the opportunity to adapt to it and overcome it, so to say. So I think if Alter can find one more thing that really of that offshoot strategy, the weird stuff, the freaky weaky, right, whatever you want to call it, of something what they have. If they can find something else, then Surf Academy, they're going to be up in arms. They're going to lose the next ones because they lost 4 in a row, right? I mean, if they find that again, then good for them. If they don't, then Surf Academy, you're taking this.
It is still a fair amount of round losses in a row, and they also won a lot in a row as well. It's a bit of a back and forth, but eventually Surf Academy just stopped the pain train from being dealt towards them, and now they're running a very odd lineup, I could say. Doc is an operator you tend to bring a lot in comp, just because he's although he has a very selfless kind of bio and personality, he is definitely very selfish put in a certain player's hands. You see those stim pistols really only guaranteeing the Doc safety or health advantage. No one else is really, but he can be used quite effectively. That MP5, again, I mentioned it when it was on the hand of Malusi. Very minimal recoil. It's got that 1.5 optic in the hands of Doc. And, I mean, you can definitely do some very dirty things as a Doc, even on a roam. Although you may be very loud, you can go for spawn peaks early off. You could just hold very long, deep angles and actually give the attackers a not so much of a fighting chance up against you. And currently it's going to start off with that spawn peak, but still not finding anything. But he's still in that roam, which could be very annoying to deal with.
Yeah, I love to see Surf's attempted roam, right? Obviously, it hasn't worked very much. They've been getting picked apart really bad when it comes to the first picks that are going in Alter's favor, but I like to see their roam. I like to see them attempting these things. The flank watch from Alter has just been really strong, and the reasons why they're able to have such a strong flank watch is because they're bringing in nomads, they're bringing in jackals. They've had a lot of great utility usage. They're watching the rear and shooting some holes in walls to gather some sight lines, and that's something that a lot of teams don't do enough of, and Alter's doing a very good job of that. So you can see that team coordination that they definitely need to win, and now it's just a matter of can they actually contend from that third floor and work their way down in a substantial enough manner to gain a large enough safety net to find success. Now the third floor being cleared makes way for the second to be cleared, but we've got at least 2 to 3 players on this second floor. Still one for Surf on the third floor, sitting over by Cocktail. They're roaming far. Stale is looking for an opportunity, has been live pinged off. The Inox has found the location, has to get a teammate's impact to save them from that spot and to overboost themselves. John, interesting play, but Surf will escape unscathed so far in this round.
And just perfect coordination again by Surf. They've wasted over half of the action phase, and still no entry has come out in the hands of Alter. Just information that they cannot utilize just yet, but they spot out Stale once more, forcing him in an awkward position. He lights up Amp, but the LMG is going to be just slightly better, but Amp, now in a rough position, could get easily traded by the side of either Pinto or Bands. We're still roaming up above, and there we have it. Pinto spots out Amp, but gets shot from behind. Waltz inside of that Z hallway will get it on towards that roaming player, but again, still one more roamer lurking around. He gets spotted out by the drone, but still wasting tons of time, but he needs to win a gunfight here, and he doesn't. Narmu gets that massive frag, removing all of the roam presence, and now puts ourselves in a 2-on-5.
Yeah, 30 seconds may remain, or 35 to be exact, but a 2v5 is almost insurmountable odds for Surf here. Alter looking to make this a 5-4 round differential at this point, stopping Surf from reaching that pivotal match point scenario, but they still got to get through Abstain and Clarity. Abstain's done a wonderful job so far in this game to pick up 8, tied for the most in his team, but not going to pick up any more in this round as Teddy finds the headshot. Amp finds one at the end as well, and it's a flawless victory for this side. Alter looked spectacular. They found holes, they cleared the second floor, and despite the great job of Surf to stay alive for over a minute and a half in that round and actually escape from a lot of the positions where they were getting flustered, it wasn't enough. Alter stepped up where they needed to and just clicked heads better. I mean, John, there's no way to better say it. They just clicked better. And it's strange to see a team that is just relying on shots like that. That's not new Mystic, right? I mean, it's strange to see that, but they're doing very well with that.
Even though Surf Academy did waste a ton of time, they eventually just forced themselves in corners, and Alter being able to get the upper hand on them did allow for them to recover for their lack of time management. And I mean, I definitely would agree that it would probably be a little more favorable to have a good man management or player management, and that's exactly why Alter won out that round. It's really difficult to win those 2 versus 5s, and although we saw something kind of similar the round before that, you don't always get yourself in a great position like we had when it was Bans and Abstain in that 2-on-4, but Surf Academy, they think they can make up for their past mistakes, so they'll go the exact same objective room again, not opting to go open towards reading room just yet. They'll remain on the lowest floor, and Stale not rocking that dock. He instead has the alibi, which having that 1.5 time optic is almost the same as dock, except just different primary gadgets, and that MX Storm is just... that thing's a bullet hose. That thing has such a jacked rate of fire and not a ton of recoil. I definitely think Stale can utilize that weapon quite well on another possible roam. And yep, we're seeing pretty much the exact same setup done by Surf Academy, just some slightly different operators. But in all honesty, it is just the difference between a dock and alibi.
A big difference as well, right? I mean, there doesn't seem to be a huge difference, but like you said, it really does make one. I think Alibi is really strong right now. Has that mid-season patch come through? She's gotten the 1.5?
Yeah.
Right.
Someone on Alter was running it, and also the AK nerf happened too. I mentioned that earlier, and also Andy talked about it too. I think.
I mean, sorry, I've just been so invested in New Worlds right now. I just have not kept up for when that patch came out. But that's super good. You know I'm going to be playing that once the beta's over for that, because Alibi with a 1.5 of that MX4 Storm, oh, spectacular. That's one of my favorite weapons in the game. Mix that up with the Keratos pistol in the secondary and having the Bailiff as an option as well. It's just too much fun to go against. I definitely see why both Surf and Alter are rocking that on the defense, and that may be also why we saw that weird strategy from Alter of placing 3 shields down in Cocktail and putting a bunch of, alibis behind it. Interesting to see, but now Surf Academy on this defense kind of have to see what's going to work. Stale has looked a little stale since his stellar performance on that attacking half, as they have found so many picks. In that second round, I believe it was, where he found 3 or 4, and hasn't really been able to pop off as much as we expected to since that point. Maybe leading his team in kills and tied for most kills in this game, but not as much as we anticipated. I was expecting a 13-14 kill feed by the end of this, and Stale might not even hit that margin if we continue to see Alter just completely pound Surf into the dust.
They've definitely become a lot more tame when they're on the defensive half now. Obviously, they still have that roam extension up above, but it just has been working out as well as they would want it to, and there goes the roam clear in full effect by Narmu. There goes bans down for the count. No more roaming Vigil, but you still have Stale, who's just around the corner, waiting up and towards White Stairwell here. But this is looking quite well for Alter so far. They're down on that time deficit once more, as they are still technically clearing out a fair amount of the roamers here, but they have that entry beginning so far, and it gets doubled down upon as Baxley gets rid of Stale. There goes all of your roam presence in a 5-on-3 you're now looking at currently, as Alter is just continuing all of this damage to your team's defensive hold.
Yeah, with 45 seconds remaining, Alter still has that 2-man advantage, and they've taken little to no damage. Only Baxley has taken a little bit off the top and still hasn't reached that 75 margin. Abstain tosses a Nitro, doesn't find anything, but Pinto will now as he takes out Teddy. I don't actually think the Nitro's been detonated. There it goes, finally. No, a breaching charge was that one, as the Nitro now finally goes off, but it does not find a kill. I think it did actually manage to tag a little bit off Nar's head. Shots go forward. Waltz with a flick finds Pinto, and a 2v4 now in motion. A little bit jittery. Sorry for this at the moment, but Abstain rushes forward through prep room, finds one into Baxley, now down, and it's unfortunately over for them as it's cleaned up swiftly by this Alter roster. Coach check last player. He'll be checking himself out of this round, and now we're at this pivotal round 11 as Alter is trying to finish off this comeback.
Alter doing, honestly, just an astonishing amount of work on these roam clears. They pick up the first 2 entries, and it may cost them a lot of time. You're really isolating the rest of Surf Academy to just the objective room. They've got to worry about angles on the vertical plane and even the horizontal plane. It's too much to try to handle when you're in a low man count, and that's what's been working so well for Alter, just having that overwhelming presence and having a great man advantage up against their opposition of Surf Academy. But we're not going to see Kitchen replayed for a second or pardon a third time in a row, only twice. Now we're going to Reading Room, and the extension that occurs up above can be done a little bit safer when you get to play Reading Room, because you can apply a lot more reinforcements, a lot more primary and secondary utility, and overall, it definitely forces Alter to play a little bit more passive, take even more time away from their never-lasting clock, their finite clock, which, I mean, if they do not get as many frags as they have been picking up these roamers, but they're still wasting just as much time, we could actually see Surf Academy reclaim that round count, which was favoring them, but now is completely squared off after some precise round wins and executions by Alter.
The executions we've seen by Alter have been very nice. We see them being patient as well. We saw that where they were trying to step in through Bakery and they didn't really extend too much. We saw Waltz step up to try and go for it, find that really nice shot into Pinto, but it still was unexpected. They're playing extremely slow, playing their own game, and Surf Academy just got caught off guard. Alter is outplaying them right now, outgunning and outplaying them. And it's such a strange thing to see because Surf was doing that in the beginning half. Maybe just Cafe being on attack and being so attack-sided recently is really what we're seeing, but I don't want to leave it at just that, John. I don't want to just say it's that. I think this is just Alter.
Map, Scott.
I agree. This map sucks. It's the worst map in human existence, but I don't want to leave it at just that. I think Alter is definitely just making that comeback and finding themselves in a little bit more of a comfortable position. Obviously now a little uncomfortable as we do see a first pick go through, and Baxley says goodbye for this round, and it is a 5v4 in favor of Surf, but this can obviously be flipped right back in its head as we've seen Alter do multiple times already.
Definitely not spotting out the Jaeger player up and towards that cigar hatch did not really do that good of a job for Alter, as they are now in that 5-on-4. Clarity is on just a sliver of health, so that could be an easy trade for Alter, but them not really getting any map control other than Red Stairwell is it's putting themselves in an awkward spot. And this is what I was worrying about. Alter, they've wasted a ton of time to establish that, but at least they made up for it by finding those entries. Now they're getting entried upon by Surf Academy, and they still have that top floor presence, and they're really expecting any kind of push occurring on the side of Alter. And finally, they start getting some map control up and towards that area of Piano and also Cigar Shop, but they still have a ton of utility to burn through and player count because all 5 defenders are still alive and relatively well, other than Clarity, of course, who again is on just about 5 to 10 health. One shot will do the job just fine.
Yeah, one shot to the head. That's the name of R6. Let's be honest here. It's sometimes the best thing in the world. Sometimes it's your worst enemy. The fact that one bullet can do the job of 30. And I'll be honest, sometimes it's 90 with the way I shoot. But obviously, Clarity taking a lot of damage, sitting very low as Nara takes a lot as well. Clarity finally finished off by Amp with the LMGE. A 4v4 now, but there's only 45 seconds remaining for Alter to actually push. Nate being cooked, tossed over. Pinto has to be wary. Does manage to survive it, but will not survive. It's going to be bans. Pinto finds the refrag, though, into Nar. And a 3v3 still here. 35 seconds left. It's the second floor objective, your tertiary reading and fireplace hall. They've got to head down to the second floor, but they have to have a big enough safety net to warrant going down. If Alter can't gather that safety net, then they're going to have to be guessing and praying that where they step is not going to be full of pitfalls or full of traps, even though there is no trap operating in their team. Let's be honest, Surf's not giving them any easy positionings. One in mining. Doesn't seem to matter, though, as Abstain and Pinto find their first two here. Amp onto Teddy. A 3v1 now as it's just Waltz. He finds Pinto from above. Down, but Stale stops him from completing the kill and ends off this round. Finally back in Surf's favor. They reach match point.
6-5 here. It almost feels like I was in this position commentating when Surf Academy was looking down that Gumbrella match point, but clearly they are much happier than that last best of one on Cafe, and everyone doing, honestly, really well overall. I mean, Clarity maybe not be doing so well on that kill count, but overall he's still wasting a ton of time on those roams, being very unexpected in his plays, and whenever he dies, he mostly gets refragged by Surf Academy, so basically just a human shield, but sometimes you need a player like that on your team. It just happens. I've seen games where Clarity does quite well, so just an awkward position for him. But match point, like you mentioned, Scott, we're going to Bar and Cocktail. A round that should have been a win for Alter did not turn out to be that storyline. They got obliterated in that 2-on-4. Great team coordination, intel gathering, and just collective calmness by Surf Academy. And they're basically running the exact same team composition once more, except there appears to be an alibi on the board by Clarity, and there's no Echo either, and I believe there's no smoke. Abstain is not on the Echo, he's on Kaid, and again, no smoke on the board. This is still pretty different, but I feel like it's going to have the exact same mindset of still going to extend in the exact same positions and try to stall that cigar-sided push as to our best of abilities. But I feel like the biggest issue last time was just Surf Academy relying more on their gun skill rather than their actual utility, because we saw smoke on the board and Tachanka, and really neither one of those gadgets being actually used. And I feel like that's the main reason why we're not seeing both Tachanka and smoke, only the Tachanka.
Round officially has started, and this is a very important one here, John, for Alter. They have to find this W, or it's all over for them, and they'll be knew what happened to them where Surf was managing to win that round. I don't think they expected the result to go in that direction, and I think that's kind of the biggest problem for Surf as well as Alter, because Surf can't just play the same thing, because Alter can think about it twice and stop it from happening. And Clarity is in a pretty dangerous position if they can't get out in good enough time, because both Nar and your Nomad player of Waltz are ready to just expend utility into that washroom and make it impossible for Clarity to be able to stay in there. Flashes, nades tossed in, barely avoids, but shield taken out. Now this Pixel hold is so much easier to take for this Alter side. Great play, and they have to continue keeping it going forward.
You mentioned time for a second, Scott. I think it's so easy on a map like Cafe to waste plenty of time, and Ban's wasting plenty of players, even killing his own teammate a Pinto, but a great 2K, needless to say, and Alter, they are trying to make ends meet here, and they have literally nothing to their name except a lucky team kill that happened on one of their best fraggers currently, but everyone is doing their job just fine. 4 players with double digits. The only one who doesn't have 10 kills is Clarity, but he's still bringing plenty of utility and help, and he finally gets a frag on a Waltz. There we have it. He steps up when needed most, and now a 2-on-4. Alter, everything on the line here. They're not looking in the front seat of match point. They're in the back seat, just getting yelled at by their parents of Surf, and it's not looking quite well. They're losing that argument, and they need to try to find these opening picks here with just about 30 seconds left as Narmu holding down that rotate angle, doesn't pick up anybody, and all that Surf Academy has to do is let those Shamikas sing glorious songs, and it's gonna just cut off so many sightlines here, but Teddy through the rotate gets one in towards washrooms. He gets lit up though in return now. Still that 3-on-2 though. Surf Academy Academy, having that man advantage and only having to stall for just about 10 more seconds here. Push comes in through by Narmu, gives himself away at the intel, now picks up one, but can't get any more. Clarity with 3 to wrap it up. A massive play by the Alibi and tie to top Freezer. Perfect positioning and even better gun skill wraps up the map. 7-5 for Surf Academy. They finally get their first win on the board, and oh my, did it feel so good to look at it.
A great performance. I mean, they scared for a little bit there that they wouldn't win that one because we saw a great return there by Alter, but Surf pulls it out in the end in a very nice fashion. I think that one entirely goes to him at the end of that fight because he was too worried about the Aruni. Your attacking player at Alter was too worried about the Aruni inside of Cocktail, and he was turned the wrong direction and to flick a full 180 degrees to try and contend towards Freezer, and it was just a little bit too far and couldn't line up that shot to continue the rampage he needed to actually win that round out. But unfortunately for that, that's the end of the first game we have here today. John, an absolute barn burner of a match going all the way to 7-5. And we can say that here because we don't have somebody 95 years old over our shoulder breathing over us like a weird guy at the library. But thankfully this round ends and we're going to have to see how game 2 will have to go forward. We've got a really interesting one coming up as well. If I remember correctly, and I will double check this, that is actually going to be Rob Gaming LLC versus Aogiri Tree, I think. AOG Tree. I mean, I think it's going to be a very fun match nonetheless. Yeah, something along those lines. I looked
it up.
Something I don't understand. Yeah, I mean, we'll figure it out.
I know,
but I don't watch enough of it apparently to understand that. But thank you guys very much for watching. Stay tuned for game 2. That's going to be coming at you guys real shortly. We'll see you guys in a few minutes. Well, welcome back, everybody, to some more UPL action. My name's Infernos, is joined here by the absolutely spectacular fellow. We'll be calling him John the entire time, but we're going to be watching Game 2 of the night, Aogiri Tree versus Rob Gaming LLC. So the real question here is, can the top contender Aogiri Tree continue to show off their dominance against this Rob Gaming side? Will Rob Gaming LLC rob the competition away from their counterpart and actually manage to sneak away with a victory? John, what are your predictions?
I mean, Rob Gaming, he's been around since 1958. I checked out their logo, and it's right there and just in printed proof. So he knows a lot about just overall life experiences, maybe a little bit about Rainbow Six as well. I mean, his mechanical skill might not be the best, but hey, Rob makes up for it with just the amount of time he's crunched into so many video games over the time. But
What
I
year was that?
wonder what Aogiri is going to bring up against them, huh?
What year was that?
1958. So Chief's still very much
Yes.
older than
Yes,
that.
Chiefs
but-
almost double that. I mean, wow.
yeah,
I
I know.
at this point, that's crazy, right? I mean, just thinking about how that.
Absolutely. Definitely. Speaking of crazy stuff, I hope we get put onto some kind of crazy map as I see you laughing off in the background about making fun of Chief's age, which, fun fact, not even that old, but hey, it's always funny just to make the same jokes over and over again. So that's what me and Scott are known for, just being so quirky like that. But bands coming in through, I'm not even talking about them at Chalet, Coastline, Consulate, and Clubhouse, and then fought up by an Oregon. So it's left to Cafe and Villa, perhaps. God, please be Villa. I love that map so much. The one thing Chief and I can agree on, and oh God, it's back to Cafe. I thought we finally left its just difficult grasp, and nope, unlucky. And Rob's also defending first. We didn't show that in the actual screen, but just a heads up, Rob is in fact defending first. Thank you, Andy. Definitely very important information to know. And I think Scott's just dead. Yeah, Scott's beside himself. I am too. I'm gonna be honest.
I hate this map. I hate this map. I'm very open about it as well. I hate this map. This map is terrible. They should have kept theme park in and gotten rid of cafe.
Something so bold to say on live air, but something so factual, because God, I hate cafe so much, just as much as you. But a serious question, Scott. We're talking about cafe. It probably needs another rework. Now, Clubhouse is a map that's already been reworked before, but it's getting buffed again. Do you think the same treatment should be had for Cafe Dostoevsky, or maybe just get rid of it entirely? I mean, I think I know what you're probably going to say, but maybe we should cut it some more slack than we do.
I think it does need a little bit more of a rework. I think the fact of the matter is that the only real way to push this map is to go to the third floor is its biggest weakness, right? I mean, yes, going into the window repels is strong and it's what you should do, but at the same time, why? I mean, there's just no point, in my opinion. So I think that there needs to be a huge difference in terms of entrance. I think maybe a few more verandas, a few more areas to walk in through its second floor. Maybe a veranda on third floor, right? Maybe something that you can just kind of step in through windows and try to contend in that direction. Maybe, Consulate, like it has the front door veranda, right? Maybe step up and have one of those on Cafe, right? Anything, literally anything. In fact, just delete the map. Just Minecraft world edit it out and just have them team deathmatch brawl in an empty field. Like anything is literally better than what Cafe is right now.
Definitely agree with you on that. I don't know if a lot of other people do, but it is a very boring map. People say Oregon's very boring, and that's kind of accurate, but I definitely think Cafe kind of takes the cake in terms of overall boringness. But the bands are pretty boring still, at least for Thatcher, Valkyrie, and Mira. That's banned almost all the time on any map, really. But the Jackal pick, that is quite shocking, especially since there's operators like Nomad and Flores that you could ban instead and are used a lot more on Cafe compared to a Jackal. Every now and again, you'll still see him picked when you're trying to go for a very dominant roam clear, but there's just so many other operators you could bring instead that are just so much better. You could bring the Ayana for clearing out with the Geminis, and then you have frag grenades to deal with utility. You've got the Nomad for flank watch. There's so many other options. If you really want to try to clear people out quickly, you could still bring a Lion. That's picked quite often. Again, just really weird that we're seeing a Jackal ban. It appears to be more of a comfort thing for Aogiri possibly, but they're the ones attacking first. So again, it's just it's really putting a lot more questions in my mind rather than answers, Scott.
I have to agree. I really don't like the choice. Maybe they watched the last game and looked at it and said, okay, well,
Maybe,
we saw
yeah.
Alter play that and it works really well for them, so maybe we don't want to face off against that. I don't know. I think Aogiri is just a team that is looking at this matchup and going, okay, they're 0-2. Whatever they are, we'll just walk over them, right? Maybe that's the thought. But I don't think you can sleep on any team that's made it into this, especially with a team that has Wi-Fi is down. I mean, I don't know if everyone has heard of that Maniac as well. I mean, you got to look at some of these players in this Rob Gaming roster and look at them and go, okay, well, they're people you can contend against, and that's something you kind of have to worry about. And in all honesty, I don't know if this Illuminati and Imposta side of Aogiri have what it takes to warrant the attitude of being able to walk over them. I don't think that's something that they can do. I don't think they're good enough. I think they're very good. I don't think they're good enough to just take any opponent and walk in them like you would walk through, I guess, a preschool when you're 35 years old and nobody would fight. Like the old saying, what is the old saying? Is like, who would you rather fight, like one lion or like 6,000 deer or something like that? Or like a WWE wrestler or 4,000 preschoolers? Like, I mean, they just don't have what it takes to have that ever be an argument, right? I mean, Rob Gaming's going to put them a run for their money. It may be a large scoreline differential, but at least they're going to have to work for it.
Already a very slow start for Aogiri, as they have only gotten control of reception currently, but eventually it pays off because they find that entry on a Maniac, but a double trade, Wi-Fi and Illuminati get put down 6 feet under respectively by one another, and that's still going to give Aogi their man advantage currently, but still have a lot more problems to worry about. They only have control of that back reception / coat check area, and they haven't cleared out the top floor, and now Anteater is up in towards coat check, still trying to stall for things, and they don't have diffuser in their back pocket either, so things could take a turn for the worse, and they do. David picks up one on the Boomski, and now things are in a 3-on-3 position. You've wasted half of the action phase and don't have that much going for you, and you don't have that man advantage either, as Anteater picks up one on a Hitman. You still have to worry about coat check, and now things are slowly but surely falling apart for Aogi Tree's attacking side.
Yeah, with 1 minute and 10 seconds left, this Rob Gaming defense is holding out, but they've taken a lot of damage. David and Aki Anteater have sitting just above 50 HP for Aki Anteater, and David sitting below, sitting about 30. I think that this side right here for Aogiri has what it takes, but Imposta is now being taken out. Now it's left just to low J4, and they're going to mess up their last flash nade, and it's going to be very difficult now as their position's kind of given away, and they don't really have any utility to try and work with. Shots heading over towards Coat Check, not really sure what to do. Now stepping towards this bar side, worry about a couple of these holes in the wall. Gets shot in the rear, does not turn whatsoever as the K1A decimates the backside. And just all that attempted attack we saw from them fizzles out so quickly. Rob Gaming will start off exceptionally strong by taking round 1.
They just kept applying more and more pressure to Aogiri's attacking side. They had control of reception for a little while, but eventually Rob Gaming just started pushing themselves closer and closer in towards that attacking execute, and it was eventually just wilted away like a dying flower. And luckily, they still have plenty of time to recover from that, but a very good start for Rob Gaming indeed, adapting to realizing, hey, no one's going on the top floor roam clear, so let's position our roamers now leading in towards the brown bar area, and also that coat check position where Anteater literally just ate up in that position. Not a lot of time to recover for the attacking side, but now they get to go up against a completely different defensive hold on bar and cocktail. A lot more utility is being brought into the mix here, as we've got that Goyo, we've got a Jaeger on the board as well. Surprised that we don't have either a Smoke or a Wamai here, because he's still on the board, but I have a strange suspicion it's because they're anticipating a Flores instead, hence why they still have a fair amount of deployable shields in their back pockets. But Aogiri is not bringing the Rotero drone wielding player of Flores. Instead, they have a lot of soft destruction of Buck, Ash, and Zofia.
I think there's a lot of practicality to be had right now for Aogiri, right? I mean, their lineup that they're bringing to the table, they're bringing in Ash, which is very interesting considering how little we've seen Ash recently in favor of Iana, but we also see the Zofia go-to pick. We're seeing Buck on Illuminati. That's an interesting one as well. I mean, it can make sense. Rob Gaming did win round 1, so maybe we see Aogiri Tree try to play the second floor and try to clear floorboards from below and catch some sightlines maybe towards Cocktail. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not this pick actually makes a difference. They have Hard Breach, they've got utility. Maybe they're just bringing the Buck as a bit of a tertiary choice instead of going for the Sledge. I don't think it's a smart decision to do that. I prefer the Sledge in almost every single way, especially with the fact that nades are in play, and this Aogiri roster now has no explosive ordinances long range to contend against, except for Hitman's impact gate nades inside of the lifeline. But first pick does actually go in favor now for the Aogiri roster. A very nice one, as Quintavian will be taken out for the count. And now Rob Gaming are going to have to face off any one-man disadvantage early on in this round. Make it 2 now as Lowe finds David coming up wide, steps and absolutely decimates now as a 3v5 is in play.
I think I've seen just 80 billion Habana just play on that window repel and just find so many frags with that Type 89, and that's going to be the case currently, as it appears that Low J4X is currently just picking frag after frag on both David and Quintavian as well. Now things are looking quite well for Aogiri, but still very winnable for Rob Gaming, most certainly. They could easily convert this back in a winning position, but now they also have to worry about that vertical play, as Illuminati just ripping things open with that skeleton key. It's going to force Rob Gaming in some really awkward spots for themselves, and in that man deficit, that is not where you want to be positioned in. Just bad spots, waiting for someone just to peek you, and ended up dying there, and that could take a turn for the worse. C4 gets attempted to be tossed out, but doesn't connect on an Illuminati, but luckily Maniac connects onto the head of Impossible with that vector in hand, and another one gets downed as well.
Ooh, very nice cleanup right now. Maniac does find Hitman, a 3v3 now in motion. Boomski with the Nomad only has 1 air jab left. Needs to actually expend that, in my opinion. You don't want to leave any of those up on the board, still in pocket. They need to be out somewhere. Just anywhere at this point. Use it aggressively if you have to, but there's one player over by Piano at this point. Aki Anteater sitting inside Cigar, just short of Piano, I may say. Wi-Fi sitting over by Cocktail, a dangerous position. Rob Gaming have 2 sitting Cigar, 1's over by Pixel, now rotating over towards Washroom. And they're still watching towards Cigar doorway. Illuminati finds Maniac, now a 2v3 in motion. Shots go forward, easy cleanup for Anki Anteaters. He finds Boomski, a 2v2 in motion. Wi-Fi is the only one left standing as Illuminati finds Anki Anteater from behind, trapped behind bar, and Low finds the kill. A great round cleanup and tied now at 1-1.
And LowJack's still able to pick up a couple of frags here and there, even after the entry part of that round, cleaning up the last player on the side of Rob Gaming. So things get evened on out now, but that was a impeccable start by Aogiri, finding off those first 2 entries. It did get traded back, and Anteater definitely stepped up when needed to, but then they were just silenced by the last 2 players of Aogiri, of Illuminati and also LowJax, who were still trying to find plenty of success. The fact that no one was able to deny that vertical play, or just overall gun skill by LowJax and then combined with Illuminati, who was on that vertical play, it was too much pressure for Rob Gaming, hence why they lost out that round. But they'll reattempt going bar and Cocktail, and unlike last time, they're not going to bring the alibi. Instead, will Mile be on the board, and I feel like that'll help them a little bit. But the pixel push was not the issue. It was just the fact that they were overextending themselves to the player up and towards White Landing. But maybe we won't see LowJax on that spot again, but I feel like he's going to be there once more, because he really did have a huge presence on that second round, just picking up those 2 frags, sitting in a really comfortable spot on that window repel.
I'm interested to see what this defensive setup we're seeing right now for Rob Gaming is. You have to set up the shield. They're waiting for that by Pixel. They brought the magnets, so it's probably Aki Anteater that's actually going to be holding Pixel, because you can set those magnets up throughout the round, but it's an interesting spot to actually place those magnets, like the one right there behind Lamp. Yes, it is hidden, but it doesn't really do too much. Yes, it may stop like a Selma being tossed over there. It's not going to stop little to none of your X-Kairos pellets, and we haven't really seen any sort of hard breach from this Aogiri roster except for the Habana. So I'm not sure why it's being placed in that direction, because if they actually throw from the backside of Cigar towards the actual reinforced wall that we busted towards stairs, it's not going to be a very useful magnet. But if they do go through the doorway, yes, it can in fact be able to yoink one out of the air. But John, I'm not seeing a lot I like from Rob Gaming's defense. Maybe this is why we saw Gidley take this 3rd floor so exceptionally so, where they just cleaned up the last few bits and made it impossible for this Rob Gaming defense to actually contend against this. A lot has to change for Rob Gaming, I think, for them to actually be able to defend this. I think they need to not just find picks, but they need to actually make it impossible for Boomski to set up these air jabs in a substantial manner to actually stop a flank from behind.
It just seems basic. Rob Gaming isn't trying to be unique or creative. They're just following a strict code, and it's not really working out for them currently. I mean, they've wasted a ton of time, but like I mentioned last game, it's so easy to get just caught up with yourself when attacking on Cafe. It's forcing the clock to go by and striking 000 sooner rather than later, as we're just about on that cusp of heading in towards the second half of the action phase on this round. It's not looking to be the best position overall for Aogiri, but they're slowly but surely trying to clear out Pixel and Washrooms, where two players of the Wamayan Jaeger, David and Anteater, just waiting patiently. And what a nice shot by David on towards Illuminati, someone who was able to open up so much of that flooring / ceiling area from the second floor. He gets down possibly from lag, but no one really knows currently. All that we know is that Rob Gaming gets a well-needed frag, and they still have tons of map control in their back pocket, forcing Aogiri to make a play in the deficit.
Making a play in this deficit is pretty important, but what's also important is just the lag. Which team can play this lag better to their advantage? Obviously, Rob Gaming has played it like to the beginning to their advantage, but it's the pacing of the game. This is how R6 is. This is how the game works. Unfortunately so. Sometimes these things happen, and you can't really go against it. Actually, you know what? It's actually just so bad at this point.
Lag.
It is actually just so bad at this point. There's almost no way to play through it. I mean, I'm not even sure what's going on anymore.
Well,
Toxic. He's just standing in the Toxic Babe. Now he can't see anything. So,
hi guys.
Very unfortunate.
Awkward.
I mean, we saw Toxic Babe go off at the end, and now we get to see two babes up here. So I mean,
I think that's the one thing that players don't lie a lot about in comp. I mean, in ranked, oh my god, bro, I was lagging when he swinged me, bro. Peeker's advantage, not Pinker. Pinker? I don't know what the hell it's supposed to mean. Pink. Oh, don't get me started with that. But I will say, that definitely was some pretty severe lag. The servers just died in a really rough spot. I don't know if that was due to where the server was positioned, so I might need to go to East or West Coast instead of Central, but we'll figure it out eventually. Definitely could have been a lot better of a round for Aogiri if it was due to that lag. I think that is why Illuminati kind of died, just in a bad spot when he just couldn't move. He was playing freeze tag and just he was going full sprint and then tripped when they said freeze, and then he just kind of fell face flat. Happens.
I mean, pretty cool first kill though, right? I mean, you know, gets the explosive ordnance. It's cool. Things all work out. We're going to do a bit of a rehost. I hope that fixes things up. I don't know what that necessarily means for that round. Maybe they replay it. First kill did come through, so I just don't know. I don't know what I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe I think we are going to reset it with a game score before that round went underway, though. I think that is the plan. Because, I mean, the kill did come from it being lag-fested, right? At least that's what is said. But everyone did say, the lag is bad. So I'm assuming that is so, but, I mean...
The round was a bit unplayable once it actually started.
It was unplayable once it hit.
Yeah, so that might be the reason why it was out of the player's hands. If it was just one player having bad internet, that's one thing, but no, it was the entire server dying. So although the time crunch was near the last minute, hell, even like 40 seconds and even 30 before we went to our face cams, I mean, I still feel like that round needs to be replayed just to serve some justice for Aogiri, because maybe they didn't lose Illuminati, that could have been a round win, but it is really tough to actually find those kills in a 5-on-5 with less than 60 seconds. It can be rough, but it is not impossible. Playing with like 1 to 10,000 ping is kind of impossible. That you literally cannot move. That is impossible. So hence why we're going in with rehost. But hopefully they won't take that long, because it only went through the first couple of rounds. So far it's been back and forth. Not too much to really see who could be a decided victor in this position. I feel like Aogiri had a rough start, but then they picked it back up a little bit. Only the first 2 rounds, like I said, technically 3, but that one's got to get replayed, I think.
Well, I definitely, I'm going to be honest with you here, John. This entire game has me really flustered. I'm not really sure what's even going on for half of it. It's very interesting playstyles to see from both of them. Their setups are a little bit weird. It's enough of a change that it's somewhat entertaining, right? To see Cafe. There's enough of a change for it, but it's still wonky,
Cafe.
Right? Yeah, it's still Cafe and it's still wonky, right? It's interesting to see how they're playing, but at the same time, it's not exactly what I'm used to seeing. So I'm trying to digest a lot of what's going on. If I'm a little slow on the uptake and pickup, I'm digesting what I'm seeing. I'm more involved in the game than I am in actually casting it. Apologies. I'm really just kind of trying to figure out what's going on. I love to digest information and see what I'm trying to like deep dive into what these teams are thinking, what their strategy may be. And these teams really have me thinking a little bit too much. They have me a little flustered, I would say. But I think we're almost ready, maybe, to get back into it. I mean, I don't know how long a rehost takes by ordinance. I mean, it depends on the observer and how quick you get in, and also on Ubisoft, I guess.
Out of rounds. If the game wants to work with you, because sometimes Ubisoft doesn't like being helpful to its players.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
Yeah, it again depends on a lot of different variables that are uncontrollable. So no one knows. All that we know is that it's you and me on the camera, and we need to make up for lost time.
Yeah. So what you do last Tuesday?
Casa with Chief. It was pretty fun, but I don't remember if that was the game where I had like a no. That was the that was open quals where like I feel like I popped a blood vessel. It was when I think it was not X13, but a team just rushed into Fireplace on match point, and they just won because of that 7-5.
I love that strategy.
I mean, it's really stupid and it shouldn't work in theory, but when it does work, it is honestly hilarious to see happen. But like my brain was just like in so much pain. I had to get off and like go to bed. I had such a severe headache afterwards. I felt like I genuinely popped a blood vessel. I'm not gonna lie. You've seen me at Land, Scott, where like I have a bulge on my head. That was like the exact same thing, except there was nothing hype to talk about. Just
yeah, it wasn't out as a hype. It was more of like
it wasn't a Jinsu play. It was a run into Fireplace and hope to God you win play. But luckily they won.
Yeah.
So we didn't go to overtime.
If the server is broken again, right? If the server is broken again, we have confirmation that if it's too much of ping, there's more problems to go with that, then we won't make them play on it. So maybe a reschedule, maybe a thing for another time. Something along those lines. We'll figure it out as it comes along, but if it does come down to that, there are things we can do. So just keep that in mind, but we're hoping that everything comes out completely crystal clear. There is no problems here whatsoever, and that this game can go underway, restarting round 3 and not letting any of the lag kills actually make any effect in this matchup.
What I was trying to harp on earlier was the lack of presence that Rob Gaming had in towards Pixel. I mean, they had a roaming alibi the second round. And round number 3, they made up for it by bringing out the Omai. They're going to do it again. They're kind of forced to this time, but it worked really well because Aogiri, they didn't really get a lot of map control. And I feel like that didn't even have to do with the fact that they lost that first player of Illuminati. They had more to worry about. And not bringing a Flores to basically halt the Wamai and Jaeger, and even the Goyo pick at that, you can deny all 3 at once, even if there's a mute on the board, because you can just focus on getting rid of that mute jammer and then removing all of the other primary pieces of utility. It really does beg the question, why not bring him? Especially since you have an Ashe on the board who isn't really as good as she used to be. Doesn't have stun grenades anymore, so you can't clear ADSs or magnets other than with your Ashe charges, and breaching charges are very, how do you put this? Very situational. So Ashe is not as strong as she once was. Her R4C isn't that good anymore either. It definitely begs the question, why not bring a Flores or a Ayana in this situation?
I think there's a really big factor for the nerfs that came through with a couple of the weapons. Chief had a really dumb take on Twitter. I mean, you can just assume he has dumb takes on Twitter no matter what, but he had a dumb take on Twitter about
it's Twitter too.
Yeah, so I mean yes, but Chief had a very dumb take on Twitter. He also breathed, which is another problem for another day.
Tell me about it.
I'm just kidding, of course. But he talks about the nerfs. He said, I'm not the one who feels it's the most substantial. I have to kind of agree with it. You know, it is a dumb take, and I will admit that because I'm dumb. But it's a bit of a dumb take because it's very, very bad. It's the same way in the sense that nobody brings a lion to the table because bringing a lion messes with people's recoil patterns and their control in muscle memory. And it's the same thing that's happened now. And so doing this in the middle of a bunch of seasons of play, yes, I know they don't care about T3, T4, but doing it in the middle of seasons, especially for ranked anything across the board, really makes it difficult for a lot of players to adapt and try to contend with. And it wasn't something that kind of came out of nowhere. It really felt like it was just something that wasn't expected to pass through and yet still did. And now people are having to reap what Ubisoft sowed and making it so difficult for them to play their favorite operators.
So far, Aogiri tree reaping the benefits of bringing a buck when attacking this top floor objective room. Plenty of vertical play coming in through, and that's going to force the defender on the side of Rob Gaming to play in a really odd spot. He's still getting flushed out pretty well by Illuminati. He's just running all over the place, trying to stop Buck dead in his tracks, but cannot confirm the shots, but eventually he does. A beautiful shot lined up by Wi-Fi is down, ends the reign of terror on the side of Illuminati, but Hitman gets a well-needed refrag with a Vulcan shield onto Quintavion. So there goes your smoke grenades, and there goes your mute player as well, as Hitman scores another one underneath that vertical play, still reaping what Illuminati sowed just a little while ago, but so much time has now been wasted, and in the 3-on-4, this is still very winnable for Rob Gaming, only having to stall for about 15 more seconds or so, and they're in really good positions currently. This could easily be a comeback here, but Hitman is still connecting all of his shots, picks up a third, but can't get any more, as Impasta around the corner near New Balcony allows the Buddy Ace to come in through and give Aogiri Tree their second round win.
A second round win, and it will put them up above. We've had to go back and forth so much so far, all the way through round 1, round 2, now round 3. Will Rob Gaming come back with their own return, making it that 2-2 split before we head over? And I'm interested to see overall how this half is going to pan out if it continues to be like this. We now see Aki Anteater on the alibi. We're jumping over to the first floor site. We saw a very successful hold from Rob Gaming here in round 1. So Aogiri Tree needs to change not just a small thing, but a very major thing if they want any chance to actually play this. I mean, because it was a very big, very sloppy affair from them. Aogiri Tree needs to fix not just one or two things, but most of their entire strategy. In fact, just don't push in from this northeast side. That's where they failed. Maybe they need to do a little bit more focused second floor, west side bakery kind of push. Maybe they just need to do a second floor drop down hatch kind of push through freezer. Find something else, because that northeast push completely floundered. And yes, it's a kitchen, but you are on the chopping block as that flounder, and that's not what you want.
Just getting opened up live for everyone to see. Not the best look for you, definitely. But on the term of Rob Gaming, as we were just talking about Aogiri Tree a second ago, their roam game on this bomb site was strong. But on Bar and Cocktail, they had no roam presence at all. I think I'm sensing a pattern here in these first couple of rounds. When Rob Gaming roams and actually tries to waste time against Aogiri Tree, they do much better. And they're roaming and extending again. So this should be a much better performance by them. Does that mean Aogiri Tree is going to lose this round? Absolutely not. Maybe they won't push in from reception this time, like you mentioned. Maybe they'll actually go up above, get that vertical play down. And it wouldn't shock me, because they have a buck, again, really opting to bring that Canadian operator over the Scotsman instead. But it's not that big of an issue at all. But instead of going on that top floor and getting that vertical play and roam clear secure, they're instead going to just walk in towards bakery, get prep room opened on up, and instead try to get that main wall opened up, maybe go for a default plant. But I mentioned the vertical presence and roam game that can be turned to actually go up against Aogiri Tree if no one goes up above to remove players like David, who are just waiting for someone to run in and plant default where he already has the sightline opened up. And there it is. Just did it now.
Yeah, and clearing these floorboards is extremely important for Aogiri in terms of their attack. They need to not just do random placements on the floor, but be a little bit more systematic with it. But that's one big fault I've seen with a lot of teams when it comes to pushing through Train Museum and just through mining. They clear all of the floor. They have no care for it. That gives them no safety net to actually peek that. It's a fair advantage for both sides. Yes, you have to shoot from below, which is a little difficult, but in R6, one shot to the head just kills. So it's not a matter of just aiming center mass to get the most damage in. You hit head, and these players at this level should be able to do that pretty well. It's just a matter of you need a little bit of a safety net to hide behind those floorboards if you want a chance. First pick goes forward. Illuminati finds Quintavion Slat, and a 4v5 now in motion. A minute and a half is remaining in this round, and Aogiri Tree is finally taking a man lead, or lead in general, when it comes to this objective here in this kitchen cooking site. Illuminati's getting rushed down. Very dangerous position to be in. Trapped inside pillar room while David is running around from mining. Very wary. Wi-Fi finds a pick with the SMG-11 into Doomski. Illuminati finds David with a long shot attempt, and it goes in their direction. Aogiri still a man up, but Illuminati down to finish by Wi-Fi. Maniac finds Impasta a 3v2, and John, this one's starting to spice up.
All up to the best two players currently, Hitman and LoJax, but Hitman's down for the count. It's just up to LoJax currently, 1 versus 3, as Anteater finds a great shot on a Hitman here, and LoJax not having a ton of intel except for Hitman giving out where he just got killed from, but a reposition is pretty much completely causable here. But LoJax finds a nice kill on towards Maniac. Down goes that player of Mazabi. Still have to find 2 more, and the vertical play could be a huge situation to deal with, but luckily that will not be the case. Anteater and Wi-Fi holding down a cross peak here, forcing LoJax to get much more aggressive, but he kind of has to anyways. He's got not much time left, and Wi-Fi, lack of intel working quite well for him, as it's going to be a quick kill on a LoJax, and a round win working out in the end for Rob Gaming. Wasn't the problem that they didn't have any roam clear, because Illuminati did just that. It was just the rotations and quick transitioning by Rob Gaming that kept them alive up against Aogiri Tree in that 4th round.
They knew when to step away from those peak holes from the floor below, and they also knew where to push. David had a good position to push that. Completely cleared out Train Museum, had control of mining, but got shot through main hallway, through pillar area, which is where we saw Illuminati kind of being trapped, and they weren't able to spray through wall, or at least didn't spray through wall to find that initial pick, just because they were a little wary about their unfortunate position. So it could have been an even more lopsided affair for Rob Gaming, but it just wasn't. It was just too much for Aogiri Tree to face off against. I think that's entirely just because of, like you said, their rotations, knowing where to place themselves, knowing where to go. Rob Gaming just played a better game. And yes, it's a part of their name. So you'd think they'd be pretty good at gaming, R6 Gaming, but from what we saw from a couple of the rounds here, 2 of the rounds here, it was a pretty unfortunate affair for them facing off against Aogiri. I don't know if they have the rotation locked down as well on some of these other objectives as they do on that first floor.
I do think it has a lot to do with the fact that Rob Gaming is just, they're not roaming at all. I think they attempted roaming once near Pillar, but they still got just eviscerated by someone inside the Aogiri Tree. But allowing Illuminati just to walk all over you in terms of that vertical play, and then having his teammates like Hitman back him up and just picking up kills every which way, it's not a good look for Rob Gaming. They have to try to find a way to at least stall for a ton of time against Aogiri Tree, because they're just giving them free map coverage. And luckily, Anteater will try to stop that vertical play from happening as he's moving around and towards the 2nd floor, but just goes back up another floor. I don't understand why Rob Gaming is still just not having anybody to worry about that middle floor presence, and not even on the middle floor. On the window rappel, you have Imposta find that entry on the Kid Maniac, and already things are looking harsh for Rob Gaming, even more so now as Illuminati gets one on the 2nd floor player of Anteater. He rotated again, but just imperfect timing allows for him to go down 6 feet under, and Aogiri Tree, they are at another 2-man entry attacking this top floor defensive hold.
They look spectacular doing it, and in all honesty, Rob Gaming just didn't have the positional awareness. I think that's what it comes down to. They're not aware of the angles you can go through. This window repel simulator that Cafe can be similar to Consulate is something that a lot of teams don't know how to defend against, because it's so strong, so devastating to face, that I'm honestly not shocked to see Rob Gaming LLC be a little flustered with it, and they rightfully should be, with Maniac and Aki Anteater out for the count. That's going to leave it up to Wi-Fi, who's the only player on this Rob Gaming squad who's gotten more than 1 kill. There's a very interesting stat to see. Wi-Fi has 4, and of course the reset did happen, but since that reset did come through, they've been a little lackluster in their performance across the board. Aogiri, however, they've got 3 players with 3 kills. They're looking exceptional all across, and they're continuing to show that performance going forward. They just need to find 3 more kills. Maybe this is where we see LoJax and Boomski pick up a couple of themselves. Boomski's doing a good job utility, not so much on the kill board. 1 minute remains here, John. And Rob Gaming are still in a massive uphill battle, and now a 2v5 as Imposta takes Wi-Fi out for the count.
Oh, and Boomski follows suit. It's just in the hands of Quintavion here, who hasn't gotten a single kill throughout the entire best of 1. Sitting behind that deployable shield, waiting for someone to push up in towards White Stairwell, gets one on a Hitman, but you're still at a 4-man deficit here, and that plant's going down. But what a shot on towards Illuminati. Bye-bye, Buck, as you're in a 1v3 post plant. Still very losable here for Quintavion, as he's on just about 30 health, but he's been hitting his shots all of a sudden. What's stopping him from finding any more? It's going to be LoJax, watching the deep angle and towards the rotate from Washrooms. That's what'll stop Quintavion from finding any more kills, and stopping Rob Gaming from picking up their 3rd round win as we go into the 6th one.
Now, it was a great position, knew exactly where to aim, and now round 6, the last round before this halftime switch. This is where we saw the last game, John, where the team that was winning at that 3-2 split took it away and went 4-2, or they were actually able to go through. Of course, this was because it was already 4-1 at the time, but things can obviously change. I think Aogiri now, as we head over to Reading Room and Fireplace, have a very good chance for this because Rob Gaming has not been able to defend on any site except for kitchen service and kitchen cooking, and that's not a good look, John. That's a very bad look. Now, that doesn't mean anything, though, because attack is a completely different beast. It's something that Rob Gaming, they have to get enough kills. They have to play that aggressive nature. They can't play this slow and convoluted playstyle with rotations and things like that because time just isn't on their side. Watching how Rob Gaming is playing on this defense makes me believe that they're going to be one of those teams that falls into the last 30-second, 15-second meta when it comes to attack.
It's just so weird. I am interested to see how exactly Rob Gaming is going to be attacking on that second half because I really have no idea what they're going to be doing, and for the most part. And at least on the defensive side, I don't know why they didn't pick Reading Room any sooner. Just because it's that quote-unquote tertiary, that third option, your last resort, that doesn't mean it's a bad bomb site. I mean, it can be a lot easier to defend when you have a good roam game, and look at what happened. When Rob Gaming was roaming, when they were defending kitchen, they did just fine up against Aogiri's attacking squad. But when they don't roam, or they have a very minimal amount of roam presence, they just get swept away by the side of Aogiri. I think this could be a very easy round for the taking, so long as they play their cards right, and you're kind of forced to actually extend a floor higher when defending Reading Room. That vertical play is super dominant when you have it in your grasp. When attacking Reading Room or Fireplace, it makes that objective room of Reading Room so much easier to actually execute into, and because of that, that's why you have to see that extension come underway every single time this objective room is brought on the board. And pretty much what you see every round of Cafe, you see that top-down roam clear come into effect, and so far Impasta's already just running around into the building, and they might be setting themselves up to actually try to work their way in towards Fireplace because Impasta's in Mining Room and getting droned out by his teammates. This could be a very aggressive push coming out by Aogiri.
Aggressive, and it needs to find impact, right? A minute has already passed, and at this point in time, Rob Gaming has looked a little better in the fact that they aren't down 2 players. And that's a weird thing to say, honestly a little sad by some accounts, but I think that they definitely have what it takes. This objective is a little bit more similar to the kitchen, I think, in terms of defense. You do have to worry about the floor below, but not very many teams actually push that in any way whatsoever, and there's really nothing to worry about. The hatch, tossing maybe a nade through. There's just not much to worry about in that direction. But the first fell will go through. Wi-Fi is down and downed in this round. Boomski finds the kill. Now refragged back by Quintavian Slat. A 4v4. Impasta sitting inside Train Museum sees the hatch has been open and is wary about that. But Hitman is also up on this red stairs toward third floor. Shot through wall as one player sitting in Cigar does a lot of damage. Hitman is sitting at about 28, 29 HP. And no damage has been brought in the other direction. Rob Gaming are looking much better, but they actually have to be able to finish this round if they want any chance going forward.
They still have to worry about Fireplace as well, because Aogiri, it's kind of a lost cause to try to actually get rid of this roam curve above. They'll have no time to get that vertical play down, and they'll have no time to execute up in towards a Reading Room. They kind of have to just cross their fingers and hope they can actually get control inside of that Fireplace area. They have control of mining already, and they've regained that man advantage. Hitman gets a very well-needed frag on towards David, and slowly but surely, they'll try to make do and get into that objective room. They've got to worry about the vertical play as well, and the long angle held by Anteater, but it's just that SMG-11 that could easily be countered by some well-placed shots with that LMGE or really anything of that matter. Illuminati steps up in, gets control of Reading Room essentially here, but he's got to worry about the vertical play. Quintavion gets a nice frag, gets traded out though, and Hitman and Impasta wrap it up at the end. Too much man pressure to deal with at the exact same moment.
Going for pick and actually maintaining most of their roster for the majority of that round. It's a very nice job, but I'm gonna go ahead and bring the question towards you. I want to hear your response to this. What are your predictions now? Seeing how Rob Gaming played on the defense, what do you think their attack's going to look like?
I feel like it's going to be very methodical. I feel like they're going to have some really good drone work, perhaps. They've got flank watch of Nomad, and they've got that Iana, which I was harping a lot about when Aogiri Tree was attacking, because I was like, why are they bringing an Ash? I guess it was more or less for comfort, because Impasta was picking up kills that were very well needed, and there were some nice shots as well with that G36C, but you can bring a G36C on Iana and then have frag grenades, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference which one you bring. But you know what? You popped off, you found some kills that were necessary. I'm not going to be that angry about you. But Rob Gaming must have heard my complaints. They're like, all right, fellow, I'll do you a solid. I'll bring the Ayana. But now David's got some really big shoes to fill. He's got to possibly find some initiating kills or allow his teammates to based off of that information, and also just clear out some positions as well, either be the utility or just players that are sitting next to it. He has those frag grenades and also the intel just to be 110% sure there's someone playing behind there. But when defending or attacking barring Cocktail, it's almost certain that someone is going to be sitting up in your pixel deployable shield, and this round's going to be no different, to be honest, Scott. But what you were trying to have me ask was, what am I going to expect from Rob Gaming? Probably just a very slow, methodical approach by them, because they have the intel to do just that.
They have the intel, but the matter of actually using that intel is different, right? I mean, we saw how slow and methodical Rob Gaming tried to be on the defense. Whether it worked or not is an entirely different story, but they were able to get those nice rotations and work with it. The question is, will they be able to replicate that same attempted strategy on the attack? Attacking is a completely different beast, and I mentioned this earlier. You have to play it in a completely different strategy, and obviously it seems to be favoring him as the window repel towards that veranda side finds an early pick on the Boomski. Quintavian Slat finds that early shot. And now a really worrisome position as Aogiri has to worry about this pixel hold after losing one player. A Mew Jammer is also placed down over there, making it really hard for any extra utility to go off. Maybe if there was a Rotero drone, maybe that's what they were attempting to try and defend against. Not really sure what a 6 pick could have been, or maybe what could have been in general. But in all honesty, I think Rob Gaming starting off here on the attack looks strong. They've already picked up one pick off of a good angle. Wi-Fi is taking a little bit of damage, but they're playing it slow and they're not getting too greedy with anything while also playing their own tempo and their own pace. I just think everything comes down to this last 15-30 seconds. I just think that's what Rob Gaming wants to play with.
Because although they're playing methodical, they still have to worry about time. They have that men advantage that could easily be converted due to having that time advantage on your side. And we're getting down to that last minute, Scott, and Rob Gaming hasn't entered the building for the most part. They still have some players up in the windows. That forces Imposta a little bit farther back, but he's still holding near Pixel and tags Quintavion in the process. He's still playing around that back shield up in towards washrooms and is wasting a fair amount of time nonetheless. Aogiri, they don't have a lot of options here to actually approach this objective room. They've got to clear out that player near Pixel, maybe try to rotate up and towards Pallets, but here comes the flank by Hitman, but it's denied by Maniac. 40 seconds left, and Rob Gaming are in a great position, but again, they're down on a lot of time here, Scott.
Down on time and maybe down on luck. Lojax finds a kill now into Maniac. Lojax also rotating around too far, though, as Wi-Fi, long shot over by Piano, finds the kill towards New Hatch. And now it's a 2v4 as Illuminati and Imposta, the last two remaining. Imposta's head out for the count as David finds a nice shot. Illuminati having to rotate all the way over from the eastern side, goes up wide steps. This looks to be a nigh insurmountable complete deficit they have to face off against. Illuminati steps too far, and Wi-Fi holding that pixel door on the wrong side, unanticipated, finds the kill in a very, very nice attacking round we saw. Oh my goodness, a completely different team. It did come down to those last few seconds. What an extraordinary round.
It's just what we saw from Alter when they were attacking Kitchen. They took a lot of time to approach upon that extension, but it paid off because they found the kills that were required to make up for that lack of time. In that 5-on-3, then turned 5-on-1, there was nothing that Aogiri Tree could really do. They were losing their gunfights, they were getting outplayed and overall outpositioned, and it was a masterful round by Rob Gaming, and they're going to be able to get some success off that with the round win. Still at that 1 round deficit now, but it's much better than 2, that's for damn sure. But we're going to have to go up against the exact same defensive hold. You and I both, not a big fan of it. It's the whole one-liner that you say about complacency, but it is very true, hence why I love hearing you say it all the time. And apparently Hitman's just running in place. A little awkward. Maybe he's just trying to cool, maybe lost some steam. Might be back. Don't know if that was due to an internet bug, but sure as hell caught me off guard, and apparently that very slow, methodical push caught Aogiri Tree off guard, but hopefully now they're a little bit wiser about that being an occurrence, because I don't really see why Rob Gaming wouldn't do it again, because it worked so damn well from the first time, and they've got the same lineup to perfect it again.
I like the idea of picking this objective twice, just because how strong it really is. I don't like the not a huge difference in terms of attempted lineup, right? I mean, yes, this is a strong lineup for defense for Aogiri. I mean, the operator lineup was very strong. I mean, but you did get absolutely pub stomped at the end of that round. You do lose a player very early on towards the pixel hold, and any attempt from you to do that pixel hold just completely flustered out. They've also taken so much time to actually defend this pixel hold. They're just now putting a Vulcan shield down there. This Cigar Lounge push, if Rob Gaming had just rushed it, would have been completely one-sided, and yet we didn't see it happen. They narrowly escaped with that because it just took Rob Gaming a little bit too long to get up there and actually remove those hatches because of playing a different angle. Nice nade played through. Lojax takes a lot of damage, not just from the nade, but from the Vulcan Shield explosion behind back bar. A very nice throw by Rob Gaming's side. I mean, what a great position already. They've already dealt some damage and now looking to finish them off in a great fashion.
Lojax, who is doing so well in the Habana on the first half, is being kind of shushed. Not silenced, he's still alive, but he's being shushed like he's at a library, and that would actually make a lot of sense for Mute, since he just basically never talks. But we still see Aogiri Tree attempting to get rid of this slight extension here, and they're also trying to maybe roam around underneath as well. It's a bit of a sporadic position for Aogiri Tree. They've got some presence underneath, and they're trying to slow down this cigar and piano push coming in through, but they haven't halted it completely. But unlike last round, there has been no entry just yet, but there we have it. I spoke too soon. Kid Maniac gets the frag onto Illuminati, one of the many roamers off the board, and we have someone else of Impasta now taking that position, but still, you're at that man advantage, and you are again slowly but surely removing Boomski from this pixel position. He may have died off the bat the first time around, but now he actually has a fighting chance up against the opposition, and not anymore. Apparently not.
5v3 position. Lojax has managed to find success previously, but still a lot of damage, and it's going to be finished off quickly by David, who started the hurt and finished it off as well. David does get felled by Impasta as they peek through that back doorway, but Contavian Slat finds two! Lining up Hitman and Impasta! Oh my goodness! Oh, just walked in!
Oh, that's an Asian play right there, Scott. Oh, man, I love seeing that happen. You always, and I mean always, have to worry about a heaven push. Now, I think that they're correct that the Goyo player was lagging because that's why he didn't move at the beginning of that prep phase. But again, no one else was watching heaven, and that allowed for Quintavion just to hop right on in scot-free. And I think we're going to have to see another pause or maybe even a rehost at that, which would definitely suck. We're 8 rounds deep in this best of 1, but Hitman is no longer with us again. You hate to see it, but oh my God, you love to see the heaven push for sure, Scott. I saw that happen a ton of times with Asian on the Zofia, just hopping in with the LMGE and literally getting those 2 kills the exact same way, picks up the player on C1 and then looks in towards pallets or C3 and just gets another one because he has so much ammo to dispense onto that defending side. It works like a charm, Scott. I mean, honestly, I think they might have nerfed the wrong weapon.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe.
kidding. That AK is pretty damn strong,
Maybe.
But the LMG's busted. It's got a lot of ammo.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, all right, let's think about it here for a second. There's some lag, right? There is obviously some lag going around. And that's, we're in a situation right now where we've already had it once, right? Where there's already a huge problem. And we're at a point where we're really late into the game, you know, already over halftime switch. What happens? What do we do? Right?
I don't know.
We already said if there was another problem, then we can have them play another day. We're already over halfway through this game. So there's a bit of a weird kind of thing going on. Yeah. Coin flip. Yeah, that's a big one. I don't really have any coins. I'm part of the 21st century. So I can flip my debit card.
I don't know where my wallet is.
Let me flip my Vimbo real fast.
Yeah. Good idea.
Let me just yeet my Samsung across the room, you know?
Yeah,
maybe it'll explode. Sorry, it's not a Note 9.
That's pretty hard to flip, actually. I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
Yeah, where's my wallet? I would have did an actual coin flip, but I don't know where the hell I put my wallet. Oh, well, I'll find it eventually.
I used all my coins when my girlfriend came over because I actually had to pay for like going to downtown and parking, you know, like scrounged up. I searched through the cracks on the couch.
Parking in town sucks.
Yeah. Little did we know that we later learned that over the half the times we parked, it was out of like the times where like you actually had to pay. You have to pay from like 9 or like 8 to like 5 p.m. or something like that. Like that's the time we have to pay.
Played
Anything
like a
past
fiddle.
that is not. We over half the time we parked before, and it was just completely wasted money. Of course, it was like $1 total, but I don't have coins in the 21st century. Like the only thing small and like pocketable that I keep around is my keys. Like, and those aren't even small anymore because I got a rubber chicken attached to it. Like,
We're back in.
oh, are we good?
Pog, we did it.
We're good.
But-
All right, sweet.
Yeah, we can get back into what we were trying to discuss. And my God, I already figured out, to be honest. Rob Gaming, they've, again, like I mentioned, I had a suspicion, that they were going to be very methodical about their approaches. And they have been. They've been taking a lot of their sweet time, but they've just been able to catch Aogiri Tree off guard in most of their engagements. And Rob Gaming's been thriving because of it. And now they've evened things up now, 4-4. And they're going to be going up against this kitchen defensive hold, which could bode really well for Aogiri Tree. We haven't seen them do that well on their roam game so far, but that could easily change, especially if Impasta tries to find this first entry as he's waiting near the top of red, or the middle part of red, I should say, looking down in towards Christmas, but doesn't see anybody. So unfortunately, no opening frag, but also no opening death either. So I guess it's still not the end of the word for Aogiri Tree, and they still have plenty of time in the action phase to find that entry.
I think there becomes a really big problem with interpretation of how to attack, right? For a lot of teams when it comes to T3, T4 Siege, right? What's the right way to attack for this team's defense? And you can get a sneak peek about how they're going to defend just based on their operator lineup. And yes, a 6-pick can make it a little bit more difficult, but from what I'm seeing and what I would see from this Aogiri lineup already, I know that it's going to be very difficult for us to push in just from Bakery because they have a Kaiju. The Electro Claws are going to make it exceedingly difficult to hard breach into these walls, and that's where AK Anteater comes into play. That's where you bring in a Maverick, and that's exactly what we see. So now they're actually able to breach this Bakery hard wall and actually be able to step forward towards the objective, and it's quiet enough that it may be something that a Aogiri Tree defense can't really figure out what to do against if enough nades or utility like that is being dumped through. Flashes are really annoying, right? They're loud. They're super egregious to try and face off against, not just because they blind you and completely remove your retinas, but because they're also a great way to try to play against that audio cue that comes forward. We saw it before, the Nitro Cell that failed in the last game, if I remember correctly, but you can do the same thing with flash grenades. But AK Anteater now finally using the Maverick trick on this Bakery hard wall. Shots attempted to go forward. Boomski finds the first. I thought for a second it was Kid Maniac, but Maniac did not find the kill. Hitman is damaged, but that was a prior fight we saw earlier up on that second floor awning. Boomski attempting to still fire. John, this round is starting off pretty egregious, but now they don't have a way to breach in effectively without Maverick being dead.
Oh, and Quintavion finds another here. They redeem themselves quite well. C4 comes out, but David gets scratched up heavily, but not dead. He can still be a huge factor of this round here as the rest of his team is still pushing up, removing the roamers here. Boomski's still on the tear, but so's Quintavion. Picks up 3, make it 4. Quintavion, he's popping off, going huge in the round, looks for a 5th, but can't get it. But David is there with a quick trade before Quintavion even meets his maker. Still down but not out. Rob Gaming, a massive recovery. They lost the entry but made up for it as Quintavion was never contested before it was far too late.
Was that an ace?
No, it was quad kill. He almost found
really
5.
wanted the ace. I like looked away.
Me
at the
too.
Last one. I got
that would have
pinged.
been a massive yell.
I got pinged on Discord and like looked over and then I missed it. I was like, no, who got it? I had to write it down with the notes. I had to be ready. But,
Didn't hear me wailing my heart
I
out?
did. I got slightly distracted. Yeah. Sorry. It was single Discord ping. I'm sure anyone here that has Discord knows. A single Discord ping, and you just go straight like, where is it? Like what's going on? Like, please stop. It's like cease.
The problems of being in online mode because sometimes pings are important during a broadcast.
How dare they? Like explaining why a rehost is happening, explaining what's going to happen next. I mean, how dare? Except that ping was for something completely unrelated. So I mean, that one was really actually just
these T3 teams just think that they have everything. They should just be maintained to, or
you have internet problems. Yeah. Suck it up.
God, go cry about it some more on Twitter, man.
Just
seriously.
Unplug and replug your router.
I'll probably like and retweet that post because I'm a Twitter gremlin.
Like, just raid boss fight it. Just plug and replug really quickly, and then they don't move. You're good. He doesn't understand games in any way whatsoever. It's hilarious.
Well, at least she knows how to be a mother. Raised you pretty well.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Uh,
against my dad's wishes
self-doubt.
sometimes, you know. Like,
Oh, well. Always going to have arguments from time to time. That's what family's for. I'm pretty sure we know a guy who's funny in the meme world that could definitely attest to that. But what I can attest
Family?
to is... Yeah, someone said family.
most important
Anyways.
thing.
Aogiri tree
Dom
up on the
Toretto?
roam, trying to waste a lot of time as Don Toretto wastes a lot of our money with all the Fast and Furious movies that come out time to time. It gets quite stale to a certain extent, but so far, watching these two teams has not been stale at all. They've been going back and forth, battling out through tooth and nail, and I think we're seeing Rob Gaming attempt the exact same thing they tried beforehand. It may have worked, but they didn't find that initial frag. It really came down to the carry of a lifetime by Quintavion, who all of a sudden is now rocking double digits and has done so much for his team currently. I don't think he's stopping just now, though.
Yeah, already a minute and 44 seconds remain, and Aogiri, one of the people who was felled first in the last round, needs to make sure they don't get felled again. Yes, they were able to open up that wall, and it was a really important part for them, but they needed to do more than that. I think Aogiri needed to make the rotation, maybe also step in through Freezer and have an opening for them, because they're only bringing one Hard Breacher, so it kind of makes it so that the role is really left on him, and it's super dangerous to play. A Nitrocell could get tossed by Lojax low, because the way that we saw Aki kind of breach that wall was really dangerous. Just stood still and moved the mouse. Yes, that's a way to do it, I guess. A very dangerous way to do it. It's not one that I would like to do. Nitrocell tossed, it'll be dipped. Doesn't seem to find any impact whatsoever. But David and Maniac do have a similarly low HP in the fact that they have taken damage. Maniac finally finished off now by Lojax, and Pasta finds Quintavion. This may just spell disaster for Rob Gaming, because Quintavion just got slapped. And now a 3v5 in motion with only 45 seconds remaining. John, Aogiri are starting to look much better in this defense.
And now they're funneled in here. David tries to open up some space, but only finds one. They've got to find a handful more if they want to actually still make things up in towards match point, or it'll be 5-on-5. Beautiful nade by Anteater, though. 2-on-3 in this position, but only 20 seconds left still, and they have to funnel into both prep and the main wall that was opened up a little while ago, and all that Aogiri tree has to do here is just play time, secure that keep away position, and make sure the plant does not go down. Another grenade, but it gets eaten up by the ADS. Not another frag to be secured, and the plant going down here. It can be denied, but David has perfect coverage. He gets railed by Imposto, looking for a 4K, and he gets it! A taste of your own medicine, Rob Gaming, as match point is denied for a little while longer. Perfect play by Aogiri tree as they bring us to round 11.
Well, there you go. That's a perfect representation of why putting the 1.5 on the MX4 Storm's pretty good. I mean, let's be honest here. Let's be brutally honest here. Why would they put that patch out there when there's still a play day left in NAL? There's still a big thing going on with European Siege. I think PAC? Well, I can't remember what it is. There's a ton of stuff going on, and you put this patch out in the middle of all of it? All right, well, we'll see what happens. But absolutely phenomenal round there for Aogiri. They had it from the absolute get-go, completely robbing the round from Rob Gaming LLC. There was a bit of a resurgence. We saw the bomb attempted to be planted. David had a great defense against one player, but that Nomad player just completely says, no, stay where you are. Impasta is not the imposter. He's there to win the game. And that round goes in the favor of Aogiri. Now 5-5. Tertiary objective now underfoot. Round 11. This round will determine who gets match point first. It was slowed down one round away for Rob, denied by Aogiri. And now a new defensive setup's going to have to go into play. No Kaid. Boomski is now on the Wamai. And a different choice all across the board for terms of defensive strategy in this new objective. They can't all sit on site. You kind of have to play off-site. You need to put a heavy defensive hold on this third floor. More specifically, still denying them a swift entry through Cigar Lounge.
Especially when Impasta's just venting all over the place, too. He was a wild creature throughout that round. Hence why he was able to pick up so many kills at different points in different instances in towards the round. Still making those jokes about Among Us, as Impasta is currently among the scoreline of double digits. Only him and Quintavion. It's been back and forth between these two titans so far in the past couple of rounds, which the round before 11 was a 4K for, I believe it was, or round 10 was a 4K for Impasta, and round 9 was for Quintavion. But this round might come down to a little bit more team play, as you've got to worry about this reading room defensive hold, which takes a lot of coordination in terms of getting that destruction down, in terms of soft removal of that breaching area, or pardon the deployable shields with maybe some breaching charges if you have that Zofia with the lifelines, or maybe an Ashe as well. But we're not going to see any destruction yet, only in terms of frags, as Maniac picks up one on Illuminati, one of your many roamers off the board, but you still got to worry about Boomski and another player right by his side behind him and towards Cocktail to waste a lot of time and also just frontline power for Rob Gaming.
5v3 now as Quintavion Slat finds Hitman. Boomski sitting behind backstore bar, looking for an opportunity as well. Flash is tossed. It does actually manage to slightly blind Boomski for a minute there, or should I say for half a second there. Now Lojax has to watch his rear as well. Akianer finds another pick onto Boomski, looking like Rob Gaming LLC is going to take this one. Impasta sees one, can't fight back, just runs away as Quintavion Slat finds his second now into Lojax. One player standing, it's Impasta. They managed to make a great comeback in that last round. The attempt was successful, but now it's going to have to be a little bit more of a dangerous act for them. David steps up, peeks through the wall, connecting over towards wide stairs, and just completely gives this into a flawless victory for this Aogiri side. Sorry, for the Rob Gaming side. I'm a little behind, a little slow at this point in my brain. Aogiri did not have what it takes to defend against that, where we usually see Impasta just find picks and keep this one really close. We're not seeing that. I mean, they're getting picked apart. I mean, Peter Piker picked I can't do it. I can't do it at all. I tried
a peck of pickled peppers?
Yeah, and Rob Gaming picked apart a team of... I can't. No, I can't even do it. My brain. I'm sorry.
I couldn't even either. I was trying to figure out a cool segment into that too, and I was like, no, damn, I don't either. That's a really tough one. Maybe one day when we get good, we'll figure it out. Maybe we're in CL one day, we'll realize that. But Impasta, not able to find a 4K, or in that position a 5K clutch, gets voted out off the ship. Still making those sussy references, because that's what we're known for, just memeing throughout our entire cast of UPL. So we'll remain true to our roots. At least I will. I mean, I know you made plenty of jokes already, but I kind of have to double down currently, especially this is my time to stall until you get into the first minute of the action phase. But Reading Room not being a really good site that was held for Aogiri Tree. They were just mopped up against on the side of Rob Gaming. They picked up those first 4 entries, technically 2 entries, followed up by another quick 2 kills, putting in Pasta in that 1-on-5 that I mentioned earlier. Just not doing a whole lot. Aogiri Tree, they just need to anticipate that methodical play style and that great positioning by Rob Gaming to actually try to get the upper hand up against them. And when they do actually put themselves in advantageous positions, obviously they win because they have that advantage. So hopefully the round that matters most, to deny the 7-5 victory, Aogiri Tree actually makes the comeback.
I think that it's definitely a possibility, with the fact that this objective is one that can go either way, obviously, but from what we've seen from Aogiri Tree in terms of their defense, it wasn't exactly... It definitely left a lot to be anticipated, a lot to be expected. And I think Rob Gaming's attack is just a little bit too much for them to deal with. I mean, it's really methodical. It's really slow. We noticed that on their defense. I said that they're going to be a team that you look at them on the attack, and they're going to be just as slow. But then they started to get comfortable. They started to find picks. They started to get success in terms of gunfights, and they became a little bit more welcoming to the idea of actually playing for those early picks, and they're winning those. They're playing it very well, and that's something that's very nice to see. And I think Aogiri was never anticipating this Rob Gaming side to give them such a run for their money. Nitrous already down below inside of Train Museum, mining at that point, and they're looking for an opportunity to toss the Nitro and detonate. Impasta goes for it. No one had stepped up, though, and a wasted Nitro, dealing no damage. And the only one hurt so far has been Hitman and My Pride. A minute and a half remains, John, and Rob Gaming are still looking to finish this one off strong.
Maniac trying to find that first entry, but peeks the wrong angle. He's looking for someone near that Shaiko rotate, and eventually gets one. Hitman peeks right into his crossfires, and it guarantees that entry for Rob Gaming, something they've been doing such a great job at, getting those first initial picks, and then working off it by slowly collapsing with all that map control. They still have to clear out the top floor, though, and might be able to possibly flush out Illuminati, as he really cannot flush out Quintavion in this position. And oh no, the explosive lifeline gets rid of him. Quintavion, a massive pick. Hop drop comes in through by Laundry, and Impasta's not quick enough on the draw. He rotates around, but gets annihilated by Maniac. It's just LoJax here in the 1 versus 5 with everything on the line. Needs to find some slack here. Gets one, looking for another, but cannot connect the shots. Loses the fight up against David, and we're not going to overtime. Just like last game, it wraps up 7-5 with your winners being Rob Gaming.
Rob Gaming in an upset victory, might I add, considering the fact that Aogiri, as far as memory, is what, 2-0? Top of the leaderboard for this division? I mean, what a spectacular performance from them. I mean, congratulations to Rob Gaming. Aogiri, you played your heart out. You just underestimated this Rob Gaming squad. I called that it looked to be a team that was going to think that they could underestimate it. It looked that one went in favor of Rob Gaming.
It really just seemed like Rob Gaming was relaxed that entire time. Like they were playing a casual match, if anything. That sounds really harsh for Aogiri, because there were some rounds where they did phenomenal, but then there were other rounds where they just were getting picked off left, right, and center. If there's one thing I have to recommend for Aogiri, it's work on their beginning game, because the rest of their playstyle is really strong, but once you put yourself in that 1vx position, it's really tough to recover from that, unless it's a 1v2. 1v2s aren't the most difficult to win, unless your team is incredibly coordinated, like T2 or T1 level. But even then, you can still see massive clutches happen, even more than just 1 versus 2s. But other than that, Aogiri, they fought the good fight, but in the end, lost by a single round in that position, and that's going to guarantee Rob Gaming another point to their overall net score. But I think that's it for us today. Might be some more UPL later on for some other matches, but for Rainbow Six, that's it for today. It's been a pleasure, of course. Really missed casting with you again, Scott. Hopefully we can get some more in the rest of the time during summer before we have to go back into some other matches up. But like I said, that'll be it for us. Hope you all have a great rest of your evening, and to stay tuned for more UPL action.